We're here for the George E. Weems Memorial Hospital Board of Directors meeting, March 26, 2026, providing quality care close to home. I'm taking Duffy's spot for today because he's out. Call to order. We have a quorum. I believe we finally do, which is good. Are there any public comments? Anyone have a public comment? All right, we're going to go to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second. All right. Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes pass. Before we get into anything else, I just want to say, Kristen, congratulations on 1 year on the board.
Thank you.
Happy you're here. You bring a unique perspective to our board, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Why didn't you greet me like that?
Because you don't bring the perspective that we carry. I'm just kidding. We love you too, John.
And one thing also, Chairman, you know, Kristen is about to graduate. When is graduation, Kristen?
I already graduated.
Oh, congratulations.
Graduated March 7th.
Yep.
Okay, so she graduated. She's a nurse
you.
practitioner. And so we thank you for your contributions, but
Thank you.
congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
All right, so the other thing is customer service. Now, that's usually Duffy's thing, but I'm going to take a stab at it, I guess, today. I think customer service starts with empathy. I think we have to have empathy for the people that come in who are probably at their lowest when they're in front of us getting some healing of whatever kind. And I think that's where we got to start, with empathy. We got to feel some compassion for the people that are there. Compassion drives, I believe, drives attitude. And if you have empathy and compassion, you're going to have a good attitude towards the people you're helping.
I agree.
And I think that's where you got to start, is with empathy. And I know sometimes we could be jaded because you see the same thing over and over again, but I think you've got to renew that empathy towards the client that's walking in the door, and understand, put yourself in their shoes, and treat thy neighbor as you would want to be treated yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that also, Bill. And I always say compassionate care. You know, Duff and I did the presentation at Alliant retreat, and but it all starts with being compassionate. And not only, you know, when you look at customer service and compassionate care, it not only starts in your inpatient or your ED, it starts in your clinics, it starts with EMS. So whatever we're doing, even your lawn care, you know, anything that we're doing here at the hospital, you know, customer service always starts there. So, you know, we sometimes we just got to broaden our mindset about customer service. It's just not a hospital stay per se. It's anything that's dealing with the hospital with that. And I'll move on.
Thank you, Dave. All right, so Mr. Brian Hall, you have our audited financial statements to share with us. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and thank y'all for having me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Does everybody have a copy of the audit in the packet? Okay, good. Well, we'll be, we've wrapped up the 2025 audit, so we can go through that today. But first, I want to say thanks for having me, and thanks for your business. It does mean a lot to us.
All right, one question for you right off the bat was, do you want us to ask questions as you move through your presentation or at the end?
Either or.
Either or.
So if y'all
That
got
means
anything, y'all just holler at me. And
wide open
we'll
field.
Stop.
Okay.
Absolutely. So kind of how I do this, if you've seen me do it before, is I'll just kind of go through the high points, the things that jump off the page to me, and the things that if I were in your seat, I'd want to talk about. But again, great question. If you want me to go into anything in more detail, if there's something I skip, you just holler at me, and be glad to do it. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first unnumbered page is the opinion, and it's what we call an unqualified opinion, which is clean, which is what you want. So it means that we did not find any material misstatement of the financials. So we'll skip ahead to page 12. So page 12 is what once upon a time would have been called the balance sheet. But these are the assets of the hospital as of September 30, 25. So the assets are what the hospital owns. So starting there at the top, you can see the cash balance, all important cash. We had $2.8 million of cash in September 25 versus $2.9 million the year before. So historically, that's a strong cash position for this facility. If you went back in years, this is a strong position. Next balance is patient AR. We spend a lot of our time on receivables and revenues in any hospital, just making sure that that the revenues are true, that the receivables are going to turn into cash in the next year, and we're very comfortable with these figures.
Brian, just one quick question
Yes,
there.
sir.
How are you calculating the uncollectibles? How do you figure
Right.
what's not going to be collected?
Sure. Well, obviously, the hospital collects it, and we audit, our hospital calculates and we audit it. But what they do is they do a look back, so they basically see over the last 12 months for each payer, how they've been getting paid, how much are we getting paid, then they apply that to receivables, and then they also take a look at specific balances that may be problematic or balances that are old or that kind of thing. So it's actually a pretty complex process to get to this number. But then on our auditing side, we look and see how the cash is actually flowing through. And then we compare that to historical trends. We do a lot of other things to make sure that that number is realistic. And we're very quite comfortable with that figure. A good question. So most of the other numbers on the asset side of the balance sheet are pretty consistent with the year over year. One item I did want to bring your attention to is that other receivables number, 1.37 million. That includes your dish and lip, and you probably know this, but the state has still, as of yesterday, still not paid out the dish from last year, so they are at least 6 months behind right now. We keep hearing that it'll be, anytime now. So we need that money. So hopefully that'll come through, but that's why that number is much larger than it was the year before, because they had paid us on time in '24. Next page is the liabilities. So if assets are what we own, liabilities are what we owe. So what did the hospital owe as of September 30, 25? You can see most of those numbers are relatively consistent year over year. Your accounts payable, which is the third line on there, $722,000. That number is down because previously it had the amount that was due to Tallahassee Memorial in there. That was paid off. So that number's gone, and your accounts payable is free of that this year. One thing we always do is check to see if you're stretching vendors, if you're holding invoices, that kind of thing. You're not. But that's an indication of stress on the cash flow side. But you guys are pretty healthy there, so that's good news. One of the larger numbers on there is unearned revenue, $730,000. What that is, which is a substantial increase from the year before, that is the appropriations over the last 2 years that we've gotten from the state of Florida, which are relatively new. This is the second or third year we've gotten those. But there's criteria on how you have to spend that money. So until you spend it in that direction, it hangs on the balance sheet. It hangs here. And then as soon as you spend it in the way that they want you to and that you've agreed to, then you push it to revenue. So right now it's hanging on the balance sheet. Ultimately, it'll go to revenue. So the two biggest numbers on here are estimated third-party settlements. So you'll see a current portion, $1,046,000, and a long-term portion, $1,062,000. So let's just call it $2 million for simplicity's sake. So what's in there is several things. One is a year of ACA settlements, which you don't owe, but you pay them in arrears of the ACA assessments. So that's $200,000. And then there's $800,000 of LIP paybacks that the state has requested back. So we know we owe $800,000. And then on top of that, there's another $1 million of accruals which is the best estimate of what they could ask for back.
Can't we just offset the lip that they owe us and the lip that we owe them? Can we just make that an even trade-off?
You could try. Call the governor and see. So I guess the message there, we know we owe $800,000. We have not started paying that. Again, they owe us a lot more than $800,000. But we know we owe $800,000. There's a estimate of $1 million. That estimate is conservative. It's accurate based on what we've seen. We're hoping we won't owe that, but it's entirely possible they'll keep sending those letters.
That's the accrual
Yes, sir.
that we talked about, so let's see it up front. Okay.
So the rest of those balances are pretty consistent. So that's the balance sheet. Go to the income statement, which is page 14. So the income statement shows how the hospital did, the operations of the hospital in 25. So kind of looking at the subtotals of net patient revenue, you'll see it's right at 8.8 million, which is down 9% from the year before. So the volumes were down, That's not just here. For whatever reason, we're seeing volumes be down a little bit across this area. Not sure why. The other operating revenue was up, and that's your 340B revenue. So that is good. That kind of offset the decrease in volumes. And then your total operating revenues, 9.4 million versus 10.1 the year before, so they're down about 7%. So our revenue's down about 7%, driven mostly on volumes. Our operating expenses, if you ran those numbers, are up 6%. And what's driving that primarily is your salary and wages were up 11%. And your offset it a little bit by your supplies expense were down 13%. So you can see what kind of makes up the changes in your operating expenses there.
Did the bringing over of the doctor's units have any effect on that?
I'm not sure if that would or not. David, do you know off the top of your head?
No, it not. It started this fiscal year here.
Okay.
Yeah, what happened was we did do staff increases, across the board, so those staff raises was calculated in that year. And then EMS is in there as well.
Yeah.
Well, it would have increased your liability when you brought them on board.
Yeah, now we would like the audit for this year. 'Cause they can't-
Okay, so it occurred after last.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So right in the middle of the page, the operating income and loss. So you see an operating loss of $4.5 million versus $3 million a loss of $3 million the year before. So challenging year operationally. And then you come in and to the next section is our grants, basically all the other sources of revenue, the money that the county gives us, et cetera. So the big number there, you'll see grants and contributions of $815,000, which is a substantial increase from last year. And that is mostly USDA, but various other grants that you got. And then the transfers section at the bottom, that's the money from the county. So you can see $3.3 million we got from the county. And then the total of all this, when you add all that together, bottom line is a negative $318,000 versus negative $658,000 the year before. So bottom line, we actually improved very slightly. Operationally, it was a challenging year. It was offset by the money from the county and the grants. All right. If there's no questions on that, we'll go to page 15. So page 15 is a statement of cash flows, just to show how you generated and spent cash. I like to look at this at a subtotal level. I think it's a little bit easier to understand. So the top section that says operating activities, that's just running the hospital. So when we look at this, we say, how much is it costing us to run the hospital, or how much cash are we generating to run the hospital? So this year it cost us right at $4 million to run the hospital. Now that's substantially more than the year before, and primarily the reason for that is we didn't get our dish and lip money in.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see that in black and white. We had to fund $4 million to run the hospital. The next section is you can see the transfers in from the county, so that's where the county money comes in, and obviously that's a big positive $3.2 million. And then the next section, financing activities, is where we're purchasing assets or paying debt and that kind of thing. So ultimately, where all this shows at the very bottom is you can see you started the year with $2.9 million of cash. You ended the year with $2.8 million of cash. So cash is pretty consistent. And again, historically, looking at your financials, it's a pretty healthy amount of cash. So I will skip all the way to page 22, if that's okay.
One thing,
Yes, sir.
Brian, that I noted is it looks like if you look at the capital and related funding, that's where there's a big difference also in 24 to 25, 644 versus 275.
Capital and related funding.
Capital and related financing activities.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's being driven by a much larger amount of grants that came through this
Yeah.
year. So the
Yeah.
USDA grants coming through,
That's the USDA grant.
and the state appropriation.
Yeah, the state capital improvement grants, because at the first year we got it, they gave us, I think, maybe a smaller percentage of the money, but the last few years they've been giving us the money up front, and we usually get around $400,000. That's what we bought the CT machine, and we do my room and other improvements at the hospital with that particular money.
Okay. So on page 22, I always like to bring this up. So charity care, which is the second paragraph there. So kind of buried in those numbers, you'll see towards the bottom of that paragraph, the actual costs of doing charity care for this hospital this year were $300,000. So I always like to bring this up, especially in a public setting, because we just talked about the challenging operational year for the hospital. Bottom line's negative, but the hospital is still giving away care to the most needy members of the community, the people that cannot afford to pay, and it costs them literally $324,000 in cash. So this hospital is serving the community. It's fulfilling its mission, and it's right here in black and white in terms of how much that
Well,
costs.
Brian, that number's larger too, because we're also funding the uncollectible receivables, right?
Right, that doesn't,
So
that
that
isn't
number,
even
that
going
number
there.
for the
Yep.
community is way bigger than 351,000, right?
This is the true charity care, which means we had no intention of ever collecting money. We literally gave them free care. On the uncollectible side, we intended to get paid, but we didn't get paid, and that number is
And
astronomical.
that is charity care as well, in my mind, anyway.
For sure. We don't get paid for it. All right, so we can skip to page, let's see, page 26. So page 26, note 4, shows your accounts receivable, and I always like to talk to my boards about, it's important to know in any hospital, regardless of size, when a patient comes in, obviously that's your patient, that's who we take care of, but that's not really your customer in terms of a payment. Who's paying you? So it's good to see who's paying you and who owes you money. So we can see at the end of the year where your receivables came from, Medicare, Medicaid, commercial, et cetera. You can see your adjustments and your reserves on it. So that's what makes up the $1 million patient receivables that we had at the end of the year. And again, we're quite comfortable that this, in fact, already has turned into cash in collections. So page 31, just wanted to bring up the debt structure of the hospital. You guys don't have any outside debt, which is great. Of course, if you did, it'd be at the county level anyway. But the hospital fund itself has no outside debt. The only thing approximating debt that you guys have is leases and IT arrangements. So you can see those here, the lease liabilities and subscriptions is IT. So your software arrangements, but still relatively minimal. I mean, the entire balance we have is $112,000. So truly almost no outside debt at the hospital. So that's good. All right, page 32. Again, something I always like to go through with my boards for community hospitals is, again, looking at who is our customer in terms of payment. So page 32, right in the middle there, you can see the percentages. So if you added up, this is how you derived your gross revenue. So who is ultimately paying the bill to you guys? So if you add up Medicare, Blue Cross, and commercial, that's a very high percentage of your mix. So this hospital actually has a quite low traditional Medicaid and even uninsured comparatively to others. So saying all that to say, the right people typically walk in your doors. The problem is not enough of them walking the doors. So when we get a patient here, we're getting the right patient. So this is a mix that a lot of hospitals would be very happy with. We just need more.
Brian, do we ever break that out between outpatient and inpatient?
We have those numbers, but when we present it, we just show it total. But yes,
I
sir.
would like to see that, just to see
Absolutely.
where we're going with that.
Absolutely. Be glad to show you. All right. So next page, not to belabor the point, but again, this next page, note 11, talks about all the Medicaid subsidies, talks about the LIP payments that are due back, a lot of information in there, a lot of numbers. But again, kind of the message is that we have over $1 million of DISH and LIP that we're still due as of today. We're standing here waiting on it. So hopefully that'll come through if Tallahassee kind of gets things figured out, and that'll help our cash position and help our 26 figures.
And Brian, let me just add about that. We did get an email from the Florida Hospital Association, Mary Mayhew, she's the president, and she indicated about the LIP and the DISH that we should be getting some payments relatively soon. You know, I think they may have a deal made with that.
Good.
So, of course, they've been saying that for a while, but we'll see. But that's $1 million plus that we're waiting on, you know, that's hurting the bottom line.
Absolutely. Okay, so page 39 and 40 is our internal control report. And this is where we list the internal control findings, if any. So we had one finding this year that repeated. So kind of a good news, bad news. The good news is that in '24, we had 3 findings. We're able to clear 2 of them this year. So the only one that remains is segregation of duties, which I've talked to David and Mr. Berry in the last day on this item. But, you know, essentially, this is not unusual for a hospital this size. You guys do a great job. You just have very few people that wear a lot of hats. And anytime that happens, you're going to have segregation of duties. You got too few people doing too many things. So it's a risk that you guys have kind of accepted. And that creates this finding. Now, if there was an intention to get the finding out, you kind of have to go the next step, say, is the juice worth the squeeze? So do we want to hire more people just to get a finding out and we don't have enough to keep them busy? Or there could be other opportunities where we kind of cross-pollinate with the county a little bit. And I can talk about some options with David and the board at some point to see if we could try some experiments to get that out. But ultimately, again, it's just a matter of having very few people doing lots of different things.
Brian, specifically what area are
Sure.
we talking about?
Right. Give
So-
me an example.
Probably the easiest example is like in cash. So not to give any specifics on your facility, but in any company, if you have the person that's doing the bank reconciliations also has access to the bank accounts and also has access to the general ledger and can make entries, that gives that person the ability to do things you don't want them to have to do. They could, not saying they would, but they could do things. Same thing with payables, same thing with payroll. And again, I see this at pretty much all smaller entities, not just hospitals.
So Brian, we can overall say that the fiscal administration needs more bodies.
If you wanted an ideal situation, then yes. But again, it's very common for smaller facilities to just understand that this is our budget, this is how we live, this is a risk that we accept, just the cost of doing business.
I think the bigger takeaway is that when they do discover fraud, that it's usually right in this area, because you have the ability to manipulate entries, so forth and so on, and cover it up. And it takes quite a bit of in-depth analysis to find it. In most cases, when it is found, it's by luck. So, you know, just somebody opened their mouth or something like that. So that's why I keep pressing it, because I don't want to be in the position of somebody coming along and say, here, you're sitting on that board and you didn't press against getting that internal control right.
Understood. So we can talk about some ideas and see what that looks like for 26. I do think absent hiring more people, and again, I would not suggest hiring more people just to get a finding out. If you need more people, hire more people. But I would, I'll talk about some ideas with you guys and see if perhaps there's some more we can put on Alliant. Perhaps there's some on the county side that we could work together. See if we can get some of this out of there. Well, we'll see how it goes. So that's really it. The last section, which is page 45 and beyond, that is the items that my professional standards require me to communicate to management and the board in writing. So there's a lot of information in there, honestly. On page 49, there's 4 items listed on page 49. I don't really want to go through them directly here, but feel free to read through those. And obviously, if you have any questions, let me know. But ultimately, the message is, you know, if there was any disagreements with management, if we identified any fraud or anything like that, we'd have to put it in here. Honestly, if there was any fraud, you would have heard me screaming a long time ago. But Really, from an audit perspective, I feel very comfortable saying the quality of your numbers, not necessarily the results, but the quality of the numbers in terms of how much we have to adjust and move around was just night and day better this year. So David and his whole team, or David's and their whole team, Jason, Heather, Henry, Sam, they did a great job this year. I mean, you can see the entries in here, and you could look back last year and see what the entries were. So we're still not quite to where we're going to be, but much, much cleaner. So, and also that proves out, if you look at the date that we issued this audit report versus the date we issued it last year, that was we could only do it this early because of the work that they did. So I want to thank them. I want to thank the ladies.
Y'all stand up, Heather and Sam, back there. I want to acknowledge them because they really did a lot of work with this audit. Also, Melanie did a lot of work on the HR piece, and Kevin Ward and them on the IT piece, but really, and Jason Bonner should be up there also, really did a lot of work with the audit. And being that, a small team, still, a lot of work. So greatly appreciate you, what they're doing there. Thank you.
They did a great job. And I think, again, give them another year or two, I think the books will be even drastically better than they are today. So that's all I have for you, but I'm glad to have any questions.
Anybody have anything else for Brian?
There was one little comment that someplace along the line I picked up on, and that was to do with the depreciation, that we're not getting enough assets.
Depreciation.
Yeah, our amortization, our depreciation is, we become an expense rather than an asset.
I'm not sure. The only thing that comes, and it may not be related to this at all, but the only thing that comes to mind was I did have a comment in here somewhere about moving the ambulance company. And I don't know if that, again, has anything to do with it. But it is an important thing that we need to consider, and David Bowling, this is something that Sean needs to look at, is when we move that ambulance company to the county, we'll save a lot of money on costs, I'll pray for the county, but.
Well, we'll save it with regards to our financial statements.
Correct.
But it's still out there, and it's
That's
still
right.
coming out of that hospital fund.
But but there's going to be some unintended consequences of that related to the cost report and the ambulances and all the depreciation. The cost report is going to look drastically different. And it could, and quite honestly probably will, result in a payback to Medicare in the first year. It's just going to take a while to settle out. So if we're going to do that this year in 26, it would be good to have a line in their team look at, what does that look like, so that when we don't get all the way to the cost, past the audit to the cost report and realize we owe a lot of money back and we got to put a number on there.
Right. So you probably want to build something in as we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brian.
All right.
Brian.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Well, thanks,
Brian.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't see Jason or Alyssa.
Jason, proper pick. I think I could have told him.
Are they still coming, or are we moving them down on the list?
No, they're gonna zoom in.
Oh, they're going to zoom in, okay.
Chief, I'm sorry, Jason is there, he's just
Okay.
doesn't show up until he turns on his camera.
All right, we're ready for them.
Okay, Jason and Mike Kozar, they're online. Let me do this.
There he is.
We're going to talk now about the Carabel Retail Pharmacy Pro Forma. This is a big issue that we've been kicking around for quite some time here, opening up a pharmacy in Carabel, since it's a desert as far as any prescriptions. People there have to drive to Carabel or come down here. Have to drive to Crawfordville or come down here. So we've been kicking around this idea of doing the pharmacy with our 340B program, and we're going to talk about how that might look moving forward if we did open that pharmacy. That's what the pro forma is going to do. And I'm going to let Jason take over and let us know and walk us through the pro forma.
Well, good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Do you all have it in front of you? So if I speak to it,
Yes, it's this,
I think most people have a copy of it, and I'll ask you the same question. Would you prefer we ask questions as you move through it, or at the end?
it doesn't matter. I'd say go ask the questions as we go.
Okay,
And what I'll do is just walk you through the high level of how we came to our conclusions. There are some assumptions, and we want to explain those to you.
okay.
As I look at, if you're looking at the second slide or second page, which is titled Potential Script Volume, I will say that these are real numbers from the Carabel Clinic. These are electronic prescriptions that were prescribed and transmitted out into the community. We don't necessarily know where they all go or what pharmacy they've arrived at, but this is data that was created from the clinic, and this is an annual number. So what we do as consultants and what we do as advisors is we say that we can never capture 100% of every prescription that leaves every clinic. And there's lots of different reasons. Prescriptions, patients have preferences. People like to shop and go to a pharmacy close to their house. Insurance companies dictate where patients have to pick up their prescriptions at times. I'm sure some of you have experienced that. So we believe we used a very conservative capture rate in these numbers, and for the 50,457 prescriptions, we used a 40% capture rate. And I would say, based on being a desert in that area, being a clinic that's right there, this may be a very low number compared to what the actual number would be, but we don't want you to make a decision based on we don't want you to make a decision on numbers that aren't conservative. So if we outperform these numbers, that's a win for all of us. And so not only will there be a 40% capture rate on the original prescription that leaves Carabel Clinic, we also estimated about 20% on refills. So those are patients coming back and getting their refills through the course of a year. And when we landed on about 24,000 prescriptions as the total opportunity, we use the Kaiser Foundation. It's a national think tank. We use that number as $113 in revenue per prescription. And in the course of a year at full capacity, we believe the pharmacy could bring in $2.7 million in revenue. And that's how we came to the starting point of our evaluation. We do probably one of these a month, so we've done a lot of them over the last 5 years. And I would say this is a pretty accurate number. Again, we can't predict what the capture rate really is going to be, but 40% is a pretty fair number. Any questions there?
Is it conservative? Is fair and conservative synonymous?
Yeah, in your scenario, I would say yes, because of the fact that there's no pharmacy in town.
Right.
There's probably a lot of people that want to leave their doctor's office with their prescription.
Exactly.
You know, in big cities, they have lots of choices. They can go to CVS or Buy Right, or they have a lot of options. Here, they're going to be. They don't want to drive another 30 miles to get a prescription. And so I would say it's a conservative estimate, but I really think the capture rate will be higher if we were to look down the road 2 years from now. Now, that's Jason's opinion, so take that with a grain of salt. But I think using these numbers and being conservative, showing the output in a conservative manner, will then allow you guys to make a good decision. And I don't want to project out that you're going to make $40 million over the course of the next 5 years when that's not realistic. So then the next slide, part of the pro forma obviously are expenses. The most expensive item on your outside of the drugs that you may purchase will be your pharmacist salary. You cannot open a pharmacy without a pharmacist being present. We don't think you'll need a lot of pharmacists in this setting. We did project out a pretty good salary for a pharmacist. It's on the higher end of our payroll estimates. But we also want to make sure we hire the right person that's going to be consistent and that the person's going to work hard for the hospital. So we projected out kind of one full-time pharmacist, one full-time technician, and potentially a driver, delivery person, and that person potentially could serve as a technician as well. We have the salaries laid out there. We estimated some benefits and the taxes. I think we use 30% typically for benefits in total. And so you'll have an end, and again, this will be at capacity, so this is at the end of year 2. You will have a payroll roughly $350,000. Depending on the pharmacist's salary and the type of person you bring in, maybe that's a little bit less. I would say that's probably at the high end of the budget. But we wanted to be conservative in these numbers, and we wanted to give you the worst case scenario. Moving to the third slide of numbers, what we had to do is project out over time what that first year looks like. We know at the end of year 2 that we think revenue is going to be around 2.3, 2.4 million. You're not going to be at full capacity at the beginning. There typically is a ramp-up time. Behind the scenes of this slide, there is a monthly projection that we conduct, and we estimate over time. In the first month, we're going to fill 100 prescriptions. Second month, it's 200, and we ramp that up to get to a summary place of the end of year 1. And we do this because we want to show you that you will potentially lose money in the first year. And again, most of our clients that build retail pharmacies, they recognize they're going to lose money in the first year. As they get to a more manageable space with more prescriptions, the numbers get a lot better for them. But we, again, wanted to make sure that you know that you have to withstand that first year. We estimated what a traditional pharmacy would cost in terms of drug expenses. We also factored in the 340B price, which is sometimes up to 50% less. And we blended those things together because not every patient will be 340B eligible potentially that walks into that pharmacy. And so at the end of the day, we estimated around 7,700 prescriptions would be filled. And that's obviously a lot less than what our total projection was 2 slides ago. But that is a conservative first year estimate. And when you factor in the math for revenue and you run the numbers for the cost of goods, the drug cost, you end up with a gross profit of $421,000 roughly. We then have to add in the salaries.
Okay,
Again, salaries.
Brian, or Jason,
Sorry.
before you move on to that, can you just walk me through the cost of goods sold under the traditional pharmacy column? You've got cost of goods sold $152,000. That's way above your revenue cost of $127,000. So cost of goods sold costs more than the revenue?
Yeah. Well, and that's a good call out. That is because on day 1 you need to stock your shelves. So we typically, I don't know what Alyssa used, but typically we add in about $50,000 for drugs on the initial inventory. And so that's an expense that will have to be accounted for, and we add it into the inventory costs from the first year. Obviously, every time you use a drug, you're going to buy it to replace it, and you won't have to potentially buy a lot of drugs to put on the shelf that you aren't using, but you do have to stock those shelves at the beginning.
Okay.
And so, I apologize for not calling that out as we went, but that is for the initial inventory. The cost of goods in a traditional pharmacy without 340B is somewhere between 80 and 90% of the revenue. So there's very thin margins when you don't have 340B to support a retail pharmacy. And so this obviously shows that the more 340B prescriptions you have, the better off the pharmacy is going to be. And you'll see that in year 2. The salary and wages, again, were estimated over time. We don't need 2 technicians when we start. We might not even need a technician at the beginning. We might just have the pharmacist salary. So we have a lower salary, wage, and benefits than you'll see at the end of year 2. The operating expenses there are just basic operating expenses in terms of buying materials and supplies and You'll have some IT costs, you'll have some software and licensure costs, those kind of things. And then we estimated capital expense that will be present in year one that will not be present in year two. These are any renovations, these are potentially putting in shelving or putting in computers, all of the things that would account for starting up a pharmacy. We've done this a few times here in the last year, so we think 110, 115,000 is a good number. You may not need that much because you already have the space available, but we wanted to make sure we accounted for it.
Jason, do we also, in that number, account for any soft costs, licensure, advertising, anything like that?
I would say that those numbers would probably go into the operating expense because you're going to pay some of those things monthly. So any reoccurring expense we would include in the operating expenses per month, marketing costs, software costs, buying paper, printer toner, those kind of things would all be part of the operating expenses. These are the capital expense is really getting the shelving that you need, building the countertops that you need, setting up the pharmacy how you want it, any kind of renovations that you make to the space. We'll have some security needs that will factor into the initial capital expense. We have to pass the Board of Pharmacy inspection, so we want to make sure we have everything set up properly. Anything that we won't have to do the second year would go into the capital expenses, and anything that we're going to have a monthly fee or monthly expense on, we would include in the operating expense.
Okay.
I have a simple question. How do you know how to stock when you first start out? What?
Well, if you go back to the very first slide that shows us the 54,000 prescriptions. So we know every single drug that's been prescribed in a year.
Right.
And I would take that Excel sheet, run a pivot table, and I would go out and find your top 20 drugs on that list, maybe top 40 drugs. And I would add those to the list of the first purchase. Because we already have the data from the prescribers.
Clinic.
Yeah. And we're not going to hit the mark 100%, but it'll get us enough to get started. And most folks that will be new to the pharmacy will understand that. When you buy drugs, you can actually get them the next day. So, if we have to tell someone, hey, this is kind of an oddball drug that we didn't have on our shelf, we'll have it for you tomorrow morning. Most people understand that. We're hoping to cover as many as we can on the front end with the right selection. We don't want to keep a bunch of expensive brand name drugs on the shelf either. So we'll have to, and if you were to hire us to help you build this pharmacy, we would help in the selection process. We would help in the startup process, which includes some of those decisions.
Thank you.
So obviously, to summarize the slide, with a $50,000 initial inventory, $110,000, $115,000 expenses on the front end, you're going to be at a loss. And if we don't have to put $100,000 into the build out, maybe this loss is much less. I haven't ever been there to look at the space. I don't know where you're projecting to put the pharmacy, but we factored those in just to make sure you're aware that it will cost some money to get the space ready for board inspection. The DEA will also inspect the space, so we have to be prepared for that as well. So if I go to the next slide, this is year 2, and you can see when I mentioned capacity, this is full capacity with the projections that we made at a 40% capture rate. So if you look at the combined total, the first line, that's your 24,000 prescriptions that we estimated. That should be times $113, which would give you the revenue. And then we used our experience and kind of our own math for the cost of goods that show $1.2 million in drug costs. And again, many of these patients will be seen at your clinic that will be 340B eligible. And we estimate close to 55% profit margin using the 340B program. Typically, this number is, again, 20% or 15% in a traditional pharmacy.
Jason, excuse me, you mentioned the 340B model. So technically, if we were not a critical access hospital and don't have 340B.
I was just going to ask that question.
Yeah, but they don't have 340B,
We're going to lose it,
will it be feasible to do this?
right?
So in a traditional pharmacy model with drug expenses at 80 or 85% of the revenue, you have to have a large volume to overcome the drug costs. In my mind, probably not. If you just look at this traditional pharmacy column on your year 2 slide, that margin is really low. There's only, what, $80,000 in margin on $400,000 in revenue. It's going to be really hard to pay your salaries and to do all the things you need to do without the margin that 340B offers.
Jason, just in the numbers you have here, I ran a calculation that you're going to be about 116,000 in the hole. I think that's about what you're looking at, if you did not have the 340B.
Well, and it's hard to say that directly because if we don't, if we have, I guess the prescription volume would be the same. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's feasible, and it's the reason there's a lot of independents that are no longer in business. They just can't stay up with the profit margins to support being in business.
Yeah, with only 20% profit, well, only a 20% profit margin versus what are we looking at with the 340 is like a 60%, right?
Yeah, it'll be at least 50.
Yeah.
In our opinion.
Yeah. So we need to keep the critical access hospital designation in order to make the pharmacy profitable down the road. So we have to keep that in place. That's the takeaway
We're
here,
going to fall on our face.
right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
I would agree there.
which then depends a lot on what they get passed in Washington, or whether they want to move that 340B program or not,
Right.
okay? So,
Jason, you know, I know John, Mr. Berry just made a question about in Washington. I know you look at it on a national level. What's happening on the 340B level? Because Mr. Berry just mentioned that comment. So,
How many hours do you have? No, there's a lot going on, both federally. They're trying to move. The biggest real concern that almost happened at the end of 25 was they're trying to move the model from a prospective discount model to a retrospective rebate model. So this will affect you all as a critical access hospital. It'll affect everybody in the marketplace that's in 340B. So what that means is you would have to pay full price for the drug up front, and then you would have to submit a request for a rebate. And so it's going to hurt a lot of 340B programs because a lot of folks don't have the money to pay $600 for a bottle of 30 Eliquis versus paying 32 cents right now. So it was shot down right at the end of the year by a federal judge in Maine. It has maintained inactivity for now, but the government's trying to resurrect this model because there's a lot of pressure from the drug manufacturers that 340B has gotten too big. And it's not the critical access hospitals that are taking advantage of it. It's all of your large teaching institution hospitals that are making $100 million in the program. And so everybody's kind of in the same boat because the drug companies are attacking the program, and they're not picking out true safety net providers versus people making money in the program. And so that's why the drug companies are so active, and obviously active against the program. So that would be the biggest thing that I see right now. You're always going to have legislative differences. You know, some people support it, some people don't. But if it flips to a true rebate model, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to stay in the program.
okay, all right.
does that mean that, listening to your remarks, does that mean that the PBOs are really still driving the process?
The PBMs,
Yeah.
pharmacy benefit managers. Yeah, I mean they're always in the middle, and it's the reason that when I show you this slide on year 2, it's the reason your traditional pharmacy operates at a 20 or 15% profit margin versus the 340B savings, because the drug costs have gone up and PBMs aren't reimbursing pharmacies any greater, and so it's squeezing the margin. So they have their hands in the middle, and they make money on both sides. So yeah, it's a problem. It's not necessarily the problem for 340B. It's the drug manufacturers that are the problem, and that is a different problem. But it still affects, it affects the business of pharmacy, which obviously a retail pharmacy would be lumped into that. So the one thing that, we as consultants, we need to be transparent. And I have, you guys don't have a slide that will show some greater level of detail on this summary here. But in essence, as I mentioned, the second part of the activity of the drug companies, they have also restricted many of the pharmaceutical companies' drugs, the brand name drugs. They have restricted the opportunity to one pharmacy. And so if you don't have an in-house retail pharmacy, then you have to pick between your pharmacy options to select whatever partnership you want to gain 340B pricing. So in your case, for buy right is your potential designation, you can see you have more revenue coming in than you do at CVS. So what would happen, the stance of the drug company is, if you have a hospital-owned retail pharmacy, you are not allowed to designate a pharmacy, and you have to select your in-house retail pharmacy for that option. So you could, and we can talk about the semantics, but you could still call the Carabel pharmacy a contract pharmacy, or you could call it an entity pharmacy. But at the end of the day, you're only going to have one selection. And so you will, if you pick the Carabel pharmacy as your selection, which in my mind you may want to, you may lose money on the buy right side that comes in your door today, because you will no longer have pricing for 340B drugs at buy right, but you will have them at Carabel, at the Carabel pharmacy. So we're showing the slide before that you can make, whatever that number was, 800,000, 600, 800,000 in a year, but you may offset some of that with a loss because now buy right is no longer your designated pharmacy option. So it's you can't look at the two things in a vacuum. They have to go hand in hand. And although I think the long run, you build a pharmacy and you operate it and you make money there would be an offset to the hospital on the 340B program because of the change that the drug companies are making you do. Does that make sense?
Walk me through that again. So we would lose the 340B pricing for our local customers at buy right by opening up the Carabel pharmacy?
Yes.
Potentially. Now keep in mind, I don't know if you pass those savings directly back to the patients, but if you don't, then that money comes back to the hospital, and the hospital uses it for services they wouldn't have to treat patients.
Well, I was just looking at it as a convenience factor for the people in Apalachicola. Now, if they wanted to get their 340B medications, they have to drive to Carabel.
Well, it depends if you're passing that savings directly back to the patient. If you are passing it directly back to the patient, then your scenario is correct. If the hospital's bringing in the savings that it's getting and the patient isn't impacted, then the patient wouldn't feel the difference. They could still go to buy right. They could still get they could still get their prescription filled. There just wouldn't be a return to the hospital on the savings.
I get it.
So the savings then would come from the Carabel pharmacy, but it doesn't change the fact that the patient can still go to buy right. Buy right, I don't know the fundamentals of the program for you, but buy right's probably writing a check back to you guys every month or every quarter. That check would get smaller. because now your 340B savings are recognized out in Carabel at your own pharmacy there. Doesn't change where the patient can go and shop, and it won't impact the dollars and cents to the patient.
Right.
Won't hurt them in any way.
But it would impact the hospital then, as far as, we got patients going, that are local, that are going to the buy right, we wouldn't get the return.
Correct.
That we would normally get with the 340B then, by opening
Correct.
up the.
So the capacity here, if the profit is 818,000 from the previous slide, you'd have to offset that potentially with somewhere near 300,000 if these numbers are right. And so you'd still make a profit in total of 500,000, but it would be shifted to your retail pharmacy and it would be shifted away from buy right.
So now you gotta do a demographic study of how many people are going over there, right?
Well, right now, right now,
You know, how the program is set up,
Doesn't make things any easier, does it?
No.
financial, how the program is set up now, you know, those savings come back to the hospital, really. And so now, it's just that, you know, buy right, our revenue from buy right probably will go down significantly, but then we'll pick it up at the Carabel retail pharmacy.
Well, I think it really goes down to the consumer. Consumers makes a decision. If you're in Apalachicola, you're not gonna drive over
Oh, no.
to the clinic to get your drugs. You're either gonna take your trip to Crawfordville and buy your groceries and you get your prescriptions filled at that point. You know, there's another offset in this thing. So the equation becomes, I'm glad it's not just me. There's another offset in this thing. It's not, the puzzle is not as easy as we thought.
Yeah, it's not as cut and dry a decision, you're right, John, as we thought, with that wrinkle in it.
Right.
You know,
If I could add enough.
I'm a risk taker. I like it, I'm a risk taker.
did somebody say something? I'm sorry.
Risk taker.
You want to roll the dice on this or not? You know,
No,
I
we've got to
guess.
think clearly about it.
I
but-
think we do have to think a little more clearly
we do.
about it.
Well,
I thought it was maybe a drop kick right here, but
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't think they realized when they made some agreements way back when they decided to get the hospital tax and incorporate, you know, the Carabel pharmacy, that there was going to be financial offsets that may not make it as
Well,
As profitable as we
Okay,
thought.
well, John, let me just bring clarity to that. When they did the hospital tax interlocal agreements, the Carabel pharmacy was not included.
Right.
The pharmacy was not included in
Right.
this. You know, the board, hospital board, the last 6 years decided, hey, why not do a pharmacy in Carabel? You had the late Doug Kramer, who was the chairman, you had William Massey, who was the commissioner, began to say, hey, why not do a Carabel pharmacy in Carabel? So the interlocal agreement for Carabel sales tax was the clinic over there with extended hours.
Right.
You know, so the pharmacy was never included in that. This is something new that the board, hospital board decided to do around 2019-ish, you know, at that time.
And we're still kicking the can.
It's still kicking the can.
Could I interject one other piece?
Yes, please.
I know you're talking offsets. The other option, I mean, you have some options if you have your own pharmacy. You also have, you can deliver drugs instead of the patient driving to the pharmacy. We have in the pro forma an extra FTE to deliver drugs to people or houses or employers. You can deliver drugs to folks. You can do a little bit of mail order if you wanted, but you don't have to just think as the pharmacy as something stagnant. You know, you will be able to offer some other services that you don't have any control of right now. And so, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, and we do want to take into account that the buy right, the dollars will go down, but the patients can still go to buy right. You know, your hospital patients can still go there, but we might be able to offer some things from the pharmacy in Carabel that don't make it any more difficult for the patient, but also we're able to capture some things that that we may not think of just because we've done this for a living, and I know there's options there, specifically delivery. people love getting their drugs at their house, and you might not think that, but they do. Everyone's, doing the Amazon model now, but we can do a small delivery service where that driver goes out a couple days a week and delivers drugs, and it could bring in a lot of extra prescriptions of people from near the hospital that don't want to travel over there.
I like it, because Carabel, I mean, there's a lot of people there that are elderly as well as don't have transportation, so delivery or mail would be ideal.
That's attractive.
We have to do something for Carabel. That's where I'm at with it.
Well, Jason, I mean, the prescription capture that you had on slide 1, I mean, that's 50,000 prescriptions that are being generated from the
clinic.
Carabel clinic. Is that fair to say that? I mean, that's where that
Yes.
data came from. And then you're assuming, or you're conservative, you're making a conservative estimate of 40% capture rate of that 50,000. We don't really know where that 50,000 is going today. If it's going towards, if it's going towards here. I mean, is it with the buy right?
Right.
More than likely, maybe not, but some could be.
Is it Crawfordville?
Is it going to
right.
Crawfordville? Where's it going, right? So we don't really know, but you're putting a conservative estimate of 40% of that being captured there. I mean, it could be a higher number.
Right.
And you offer the delivery service, like you said, it could be a much higher number at that point. So
I mean,
folks
think about if they
haven't
could go
addressed
see
it.
the provider at the clinic, wait an extra 10 minutes and leave with their prescription.
Yeah.
Right.
That, and even if it's not a routine, I mean, even if it's not an urgent prescription for like an antibiotic or a pain drug, I mean, I think people would be willing to sit and wait for their blood pressure medicine
I
for a
agree.
couple minutes while we fill that prescription. And then if there's problems, the pharmacy is right there to talk to the doctor, nurse practitioner, PA, office staff. There's a synergy there that you don't get when you have a partnership with Buy Right or CVS or any retail pharmacy out there. Most hospital pharmacies, even in small communities, most of their retail pharmacies succeed because you have strength in your brand, and this is just another extension of healthcare in rural America that most people like. Now, you have to run the business correctly. I'm not saying it'll just work just because you say it's going to work, but if you find the right pharmacy manager and you have enough support behind it with the prescription volume that you can generate, it should work.
Yeah, and to think about, 50,000 prescriptions, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot coming from the
That's a lot of
Carabel
volume.
Clinic. And that Carabel Clinic is one of our busiest clinics anyway. But I think that, as we look at this particular service here, we're creating access to care, of course,
A network.
for a high population need. We definitely want to make sure that we think all the variables through here, and we know that there may be a drop in revenue loss for us on the buy right end, but there will be a pickup revenue on the Carabel end of the retail pharmacy, and then it's a pharmacy that we control.
That's right.
We can do a lot of different things with it. But I really think that this is an area of need, especially in that area. There's nothing in that area
There's
now.
nothing.
You think about the elderly, those that are disabled, need medications, got to try to find a ride, to go to either Apalachicola or go to Crawfordville. So this can be, we'll continue to do due diligence with it, but I really think this need to be our priority number one, really to do something like that in that area. And even if the offset in the buy right, our CVS goes down, we're still okay, financially if we build it right, but we create a system that can meet a need for that population,
Right.
that's absent there. There's nothing there. And like Jason was saying, why the big retail pharmacies are not coming in traditionally, because there's not enough bodies to be more profitable in that area there. So I don't want to interrupt the presentation, but
Come up, Susie.
Susan. And we're saying all this, our practice managers right here, I'm sure.
Well, I think people, from my perspective, from a clinical point, it's going to also keep patients compliant with their medications. It's going to get patients to have medication that they would otherwise put aside because they can't afford it. Oftentimes, the pharmacies also don't fill the entire amount that we prescribe because whatever their stocking purposes are, and so patients are paying more copays. And just with advances in technology and medicine, there's more and more medications coming out for treatments of diseases, and since we're living longer, there's going to be more medications coming out. So, but I just think that there's such a need, and I'm going to sign up for the courier job, but I think that, the patients go back and forth all the time.
Yes, they do.
The East patients that come down to Apalachicola, I mean, it's not that
My
far of a
grandmother's one of
distance for those of us that have lived in other cities.
Right.
And it's a great drive. But it is something that will more importantly keep patients compliant with their medications and have a better understanding. They have better communication with the pharmacists about interactions with their other medications instead of just going to a CVS, and you don't have that one-on-one with the pharmacist anymore.
That's right.
So that's just my personal input.
That's right.
Yeah. Again, a courier, I can get the license.
We'll get you an application. We'll get you, I guess, is there any more discussion? I think the board should really look at a motion on whether we want to move forward with our due diligence and move forward with trying to put together this program in a timely fashion, because we have been kicking it down the road since 2019. What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion to move forward on the
Second.
340B program at the Carabel Clinic.
Anybody second that?
Second.
All in favor? Or any discussion first? Hold on. Any discussion? All right. Anybody in favor? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We're going to move forward with it. I think it's the right thing to do for Carabel and our community, and thank you.
I agree. I just feel like we'll be blessed doing it. We're doing something for the community. How
Yep.
could we not be blessed?
And I would like also, Jason hasn't been down here, well, he hasn't been here, maybe come down and take a look at the clinic, because I know we've been looking at where we want to do the pharmacy at. Initially, we thought about inside. Craig and I met with an architect years ago, architect, and he thought maybe about doing the part of the pharmacy in the front, area of it. And then John and I talked about that too. So maybe we all may need to do a road trip to Carabel and just take a look at it, say, hey, what would be the best flow? And of course have, Susie there as well. So as we begin to plan out, because the construction piece, doing it inside would be lesser than maybe doing a little something outside part of it.
Is this where you're going to discuss that, what you and I talked about?
Yeah,
or is it
yeah. Can we talk about it? We can talk about it now, yeah.
All right, what do we want to talk about?
voted? Yeah, we voted.
Yes, we voted.
Yeah, but we're talking about, where we want the pharmacy to be located at.
Correct.
Initially, we had it located inside of the building, and individuals would walk to the back of the building. Craig and I, met with the architect, John and I also talked about maybe having it in the front of the building there. And so we can have some discussion on that if you want to.
Well, I think those are getting into the weeds. I think we can talk about how we want to place it, the construction. We got to get, obviously get some people in to look at the construction that needs to be done. We have to do our due diligence on the pharmacist and the company that we may use to provide pharmacy services, if that's what we're going to do. And I know, David Walker, you and I talked about a pharmacy program, like a doctor's partnership. There's a pharmacy partnership that we can talk to. There's a lot of little parts of this that we got to put in place, but the general consensus from the board I see is that we're going to move forward with this in as quickly a pace as we possibly can, because the need is great, and we want to provide that service to the community.
Well, your long or tall pole in the tent is going to be your construction, setting it up. And I made a trip over there and looked at it, and then I've looked at the plans for the convenience of the public and for the security of the drugs themselves and privacy with the patients in the clinic. I basically have made a decision as to where I think it should be, and that is, I think it should be up on the upper right corner of the clinic, where they have a ability to reconstruct, keep it away from the patients in the clinic, so there's not that cross traffic, and not coming in the back door, because anybody comes in the back door, I feel, less. I don't like coming in the back door. I'd rather come in the front door.
All right, we're not going to take the double entendre on that one, are we?
Only you.
Anyway, all right, yeah, I mean, again, these are all decisions that the board's gonna make as far as how we're gonna set it up and who we're gonna use and who the construction crews are gonna be and all those things, but I think we got a clear path that we wanna do this and we wanna make it work.
Do we have to go out and get an architect or somebody to come in? Who did the building plans previously? Or do we, how does that go? What's that process?
Yeah, well, initially, I don't know who did the Carabel building plans. I'm sure we got that. But when we first started looking at the pharmacy, we had two groups. We had West Group that we had that provide, West Jones, his group provide pharmacy services for us. Now, they came out, we met with them initially, and they did some drawings for us, like, hey, this way, maybe you want to put the pharmacy at there. But we don't have an architect. We hadn't looked at it in detail for that. So all of that would have to be developed, looking at, where we want to put the pharmacy. Then you get an architect to come in and say, hey, what is the best place to have it here for ACA regulations as well as Department of Health. So we haven't had all that yet, but that will have to come, per se.
So John, you want to volunteer as being the on the sub-board for the construction and opening of the pharmacy?
Sure.
Beautiful. There you go.
Okay. And also, while we talk about the pharmacy, on my report, I'll be meeting with the Department of Health pharmacy residency program on April 15th at 1:30. They're coming here because they want to set up a pharmacy residential program for pharmacists to do a rotation here. So John, since you're on the subcommittee now, if you want to be a part of that meeting, with representatives coming down to meet with us and talk about the pharmacy residency program.
And what's the date on that again?
April 15th at 1:30.
Okay.
April 15th.
At 1:30.
Tax day, huh?
Oh, it's tax day.
That's what he's thinking, I know.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I was just trying to have a meeting with them as soon as possible because they reached out to me. And so we'll get their ideas also.
Good.
If we set up a pharmacy in Carabel, we may be a pipeline to get these pharmacies for rotations in there.
Love it. That's great. All right. Jason, thank you so much for
Thank you,
your
Jason.
presentation, and it was very informative for us. And certainly if we have a need, I'm sure we'll be tapping you on the shoulder again, sir.
Well, thank you all. We build pharmacies for people, so any advice that I can offer, I'm happy to help. But thank you
Thanks.
again for letting me present.
We'll have you come down here with your hammer.
Well, as long as I can get the job of the delivery driver after that.
Well, we've already got
Susie
one
for that.
candidate. We already have one candidate on the books,
You
sir.
have to fight Susie.
Maybe we need two drivers.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all.
Thank you so much,
Take care.
Jason.
1:30.
Thank you.
At 1:30. Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Chairman, let's do a break.
Y'all want a break? Potty break? All right. Let's take 5 minutes.
Okay.
What I'm going to do is go off script here a little bit on the agenda. I'm going to bring up Colleen Zester to talk a little bit about the foundation.
Oh, thank you, sir.
That's you.
That's nice.
That's you, babe. Thank you, sir. Is it on? Hello. Hi, everybody. That was a great discussion. I'm excited about, see what happens with the pharmacy. That'll make some of the work, conversations we're having on behalf of the foundation far more positive, I would say. Community will be excited about that. So just quick updates. You'll recall Foundation published a couple of priorities this year. The first one in line with Mr. Walker and the board's interest to provide comfort and compassionate care. We suggested primarily that's about supporting our clinics, the growing clinics. I mentioned last time that through some of the important work we're all doing together, we're contributing to upgrading some of the clinic beds, which is exciting. Some of that outreach continues. The hospice suite, we're working with Courtney and the team to make sure that that is an enhanced experience for not only the patient but their families. So I'm sure Courtney's going to give some updates there. Ribbon cutting tentatively scheduled for early spring. National Hospital Week is that first week of May. So again, working with Courtney and the team to see what's appropriate and relevant and how we can pitch in there. Happy to report that based on just all the work that we're all doing together, that we have received what I would consider 2 major donations in this first quarter, and unrestricted dollars. So we will be taking into account where the greatest need is and how those dollars can be funneled to our priorities. But that's exciting, and to me, that's indicative of, again, the work we're doing to improve the perception and the trust by the community in the hospital and the care, which we all know is outstanding. We just, to Brian's point, we're getting the right people to come in the door. We just need more of them. So we're looking forward to continuing our work in that regard. Second objective, we had captured a stronger bone, stronger community. We know that there's still a real desire to bring bone density screening to the hospital and therefore the community. So that's really our major focus for much of the funds we will raise this year. That's a big hill to climb, but we're very optimistic about that. Want to report that in January we had applied for a grant with Duke Energy, and we learned at the beginning of this month we were declined, but I'm in conversation with Scott Mixon to understand a little bit more about that and where other grants might be for us. In that vein, at the recent Alliant retreat, did make a contact with some folks that were there that provide grant writing guidance and services. So I've started some conversations there. I'm going to continue that and bring the board and Mr. Walker and David Bowling into that as appropriate. And then March, as you all know, it's National Nutrition Month. A couple of things we've been doing, though not as great a response as we had hoped. We are seeing some response from the community and encourage you here in our final 4 or 5 days of the month to do whatever you can to promote and maybe even get involved. First, at Piggly Wiggly, we had worked with the Macklemore family and had established for the month of March. People simply needed to register with their phone number and they could get 10% off of all healthy food choices. So, the idea is helping people appreciate that, making healthy food choices and eating well is important to bone health. And we do know that the cost of food is a challenge for many people in our community. Sometimes grabbing a pack of Pop-Tarts is less expensive than making a meal with fruits and vegetables. So we've been trying to push out some education there. Susie was a really good partner in helping us identify this was an opportunity. So we have had, I think, about 24 people actually registered directly through our online link. And I think, I'll have to confirm, but I think people are going into the store and registering. So that feels good. The other thing we had done is created, just again, in another way to punctuate how important healthy eating is, put together a lovely raffle basket that has a $100 gift card for Piggly Wiggly, has some gourmet cookware, some other kitchen essentials. And that was for a few weeks at Bell's downtown, and now is sitting at another lovely establishment in town, Appalachia Bee Company. So I'm going to hand something out to you at the end of the meeting. There's a QR code if you want to scan and purchase some tickets or encourage folks in your network to do so. It's less about a fundraising effort and just more about reinforcing how important healthy eating is. And then finally, our third objective for this year was, again, doing what we can to increase the public perception of the truly outstanding level of care that people will get when they come to Weems. We know that people are going other places. Just spent a lot of time talking about that today. We have been actively sharing our thoughts on how we can tap into opportunities in the community, sharing with Mr. Walker and Courtney and others. We're going to continue to do that. Presence on Facebook, social media, also just doing what we can to be out in the community and champion the experience and remind people that compassionate care is right here at home. So we'll continue our efforts there. To that end, I have a little handout for y'all on the board, which Mr. Zescher will distribute. But essentially, we have several things going on. We have this text to give opportunity all year round. You can text 898-927 to an 800 number or scan this QR code. Every donation helps, $2, $1, $100. Thank you, sir. I think I have enough for the board. Then we have another one specifically for generating funds, the work that we're doing with Big Bend relative to the hospice suite. And then our big donation drives, which are around the clinics and the annual screenings. And then finally, at the bottom, you'll see information about we're starting to plan our annual gala. It is, again, going to take place at the Apalachicola Yacht Club. Last year was a really great event. 2 days after, people were asking, are we doing it again? Yes, we are. This year it's going to be on a Saturday. Already have a couple really excited donors. We've got some of the vendors or the partners lined up. So please mark your calendars. It is Saturday, November 14th. It would be really great to see every single one of you up there on the board. Bring your family and friends. It's really a fun evening, community event, and it helps us reach our goals. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you and your work.
Thank
you
you.
so much. You're a huge asset to us.
And Colleen is doing a great job, really.
is.
She really is doing
She
an
is.
excellent job, so we greatly appreciate her.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so moving right along, Courtney, clinical.
Good morning. We'll run through some stuff rather quickly, but first I will start by saying our staffing is getting better. Dr. Conrad wanted me to mention that as well. Yesterday I had 5 interviews scheduled, an RN that I did hire, PRN, an LPN as well that wants to work full-time that I plan to move forward with. And then we haven't had CNAs at Weems in I don't know how long, but I'd say probably 10 plus years.
Yes.
But I feel the need for those again. I'm going to schedule them a little different on just 8-hour shifts, so we can do 7 to 3 and 3 to 11. That's going to take some of the weight off of the nursing staff, or when our census is high, or when we only have 1 nurse on. That's going to be a great asset, in my opinion, in hands. So I've got 2 of those as well. So things are looking better, and that helps with admission rates as well, because if we have appropriately staffed, we can put in more patients. So it might be where we, look like we're staffing a little bit heavier at some times, depending on the census, but we need to make sure we have the staff there so that when the physicians want to admit the patients, that we can do so without being holding patients in the emergency department or things such as that. So thankful
Courtney,
for that.
We've seen that we have a lot more beds filled of recent, right?
Yes, our numbers have been much better. Yep, they've been much better. And we've got a few swings at a time. I have 1, possibly 2 more swings lined up to come right now. One's coming most likely for sure next week, and potentially another as well. So.
And how are we attracting those swings?
The one that's coming next week is actually our physical therapist treats him at home outpatient currently, and has referred him to us to come.
Great.
And then the other one actually reached out to me, got an outpatient order from their physician from Tallahassee, but it was a local resident, so I've just been following up with them. But I will say, 2 of the ones that we have currently have come from Panama City facilities. So,
Okay. So
yeah.
we're getting the word out. I mean,
Yeah.
people are starting to recognize.
Yes, I think that helps.
Yeah.
Because case management, you can't always rely on them at the other facilities. You just can't. I mean,
No.
it turns over, it's okay. I don't take it personal from them. But also, when we increase our numbers of admissions through our emergency department, obviously, our swing numbers increase. And we've seen that as well. So thankful for the docs admitting more of what they can and what's appropriate.
Yeah, because I think we were a little worried about the emergency room visits in the beginning of the year. January didn't look so good, February didn't look so good, but the turnaround is happening.
Yes, and the admission numbers have definitely increased. So,
Great.
yeah, that helps. So we're happy about that. We are, like Colleen said, working on that hospice room. We are scheduling, we just had we have a hospice representative named Molly from Tallahassee who comes down once a week and we chat, and she comes by the hospital and the clinics. I think she fed the clinics a couple weeks ago. So we have a good representative there. And she had someone come and plant a bottle brush bush right outside the window. So they wanted to plant it themselves. They met with Craig last week and Mr. Walker. They planted it. This lady that bought it, donated it, and planted it herself, was staying on the island. So getting a lot more people active and helping with that. Again, with Molly's help, with Colleen's help, we are planning to meet in April to plan that ribbon cutting. Tentatively scheduled for May-ish. May end up pushing it back to June depending on dates. May's kind of busy for me and some others as well. So
Courtney, as far as that room, weren't we waiting on a recliner chair?
yes, we were. So looks like the best pricing for that is what we can get through our purchasing. So I'm waiting on that final price with freight and everything included. But I believe we have 2 donors that are going to cover the cost of that chair.
When you say hospice court, who would we utilize for hospice? Who would?
We have a contract with Big Ben.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it would be it would be only Big Ben?
Yeah, well, we'll admit any hospice. We are working on a contract with Vitas as well. It's just had to go through the county attorney and have a couple changes and things, and I need to follow up on that as well.
Okay.
But we've had a contract with Big Ben, and they're amazing to work with.
they're
Mr.
phenomenal.
Walker and I sit on the Big Ben Advisory Council, so we go to those meetings once a month
They're
and meet with them. So it's an easy process. So we have that room designated. It's pretty much set up. Colleen and the foundation just put a nice, beautiful piece of art in there, so that helps. The only thing we really need is just the chair. And we're going to work on making the outside area, some plants, some different things. I figured Ace Hardware might donate a plant too.
I got you. I'll go today. Just tell me what you need, right?
Okay, yeah,
Just tell me what you need, sis.
Yeah, I told Molly I had a hookup for plants.
Yes, you
but- But she had someone bring one, which we were thankful that somebody wanted to come and actually plant it and be a part of that process themselves. So we're hoping to put a little bird feeder. We just want to make it just a little more comfortable for the families and the patients, of course.
And Courtney, let me just,
Hold up on the chair.
Well, we were looking for different pricing. We need it's not just a regular chair, we need a chair that makes out into a bed so that the family members can sleep in there. But we're limited on space on the size of our rooms. It's just a regular size hospital room. So we were looking for different options. It has to be, hospital grade, and we needed to fit just right and such. But I think we found that option, and we've secured the donors to pay for that option, so.
And do you know what the turnaround time is for delivery on that?
I don't remember. I believe that Glenda has given me that information, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But we'll have it before the ribbon cutting for
I
sure.
hope so.
Yeah, definitely. It's not that long. It's not
Okay,
that
good.
long.
Great.
So that's our plan for that. We do have our usual mid-year education coming up for the staff, the nurses, the BLS, ACLS, and PALS, so we're moving forward with that. Actually working with the Workforce Center some. They came and met with us, and Melanie's been talking to them about how they have some funds that can help pay for those things. So that will help ease some of the funds that the hospital has to pay for. Because we have to have our staff, has to have this education. You have to have it. But if they're going to help us out in paying for some of that, that's going to be a nice benefit. So those classes are scheduled for the end of April as well. It takes care of our nurse practitioners at our clinics. A couple doctors are signed up and a lot of nurses. And then we're working with the Workforce Center also to do a basic life support class for the rest of the staff.
When was that ribbon cutting for hospice?
We have a security date. We're meeting in April to make sure, we're shooting for May, June.
Okay.
But it's either going to need to be like mid-May or early June, I'm thinking, to make it work. But I'll update you guys all whenever we secure that date. Then we are working on some hospital week activities. You know, we'll keep you guys informed so that you can join in on some things. I know that we have a commissioner that's going to feed the staff one day, come cook for them. The Sheriff's Department generally does one day. We've got some other ideas for food trucks coming or different things like that that we can work with to support people in our community that have food trucks and different options like that, but also, you know, help with hospital week. So we're working to secure that kind of stuff.
Gordon, let me just interject. And for each board member, we really want you to be a part of it also. And also, if you want to sponsor anything, if you want to sponsor lunch for the staff that day, that'll be greatly beneficial. If you want to sponsor a breakfast for the staff.
And what week is this, Mr. Walker? What date?
The beginning of May, but we'll send the
Okay.
dates out to all the board members with the National Hospital Week dates. So just give me some thought ahead of time, you know, whatever you all want to sponsor for the staff, because really, you know, you are the governing board of the hospital, and to have more hospital board members come out and participate and maybe sponsor a meal or
Sure.
cupcakes, donuts, anything.
Sure, I can think something.
Excuse me, fruit, apples.
It's the 10th through the 16th, and we don't necessarily feed,
16th of
yes,
what?
of May.
May.
We don't always feed a whole meal, you know. We've had Bayside Coffee come before, and, you know, just give them, like, we buy the coffee. We've had Dave's Dogs come before, and, you know, or sometimes we just do like coffee and donuts instead of a whole meal. So we're happy for anybody that wants to help. You guys or community or anybody, it just helps.
Get with the Apalachicola Chocolate Factory. with
Yes.
dates and see what they can do for us.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I'll
yes.
get back to you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, things like that, board, anything you want to give.
Then we also have the ACA report. You guys have that, I believe, where we updated some policies here. So we had to update our visitation policy, and pretty much we just needed to, it didn't contain a provision for infection control, so we just had to line some things up in that. Exactly how they'll be screened, their PPE, personal protective equipment, other infection control policies, just simple mask, things like that. So the last one that we had was the COVID one, and things have changed since then. So this is just updates on that, updates on the visitation policy, hours, updates on the number of visitors that are allowed to the patients in the different units. Also updated on who's responsible for the staff adherence to the visitation, which would be myself. The vaccines, we don't require them to have vaccines to come in and see their loved members, things like that. And then we had to provide a non-emergent care access plan for assisting the patients to gain access to appropriate care settings per the Florida statute. So that's just the non-emergency access care plan. So when a patient comes in to the emergency room, we have to make sure we provide the screen and the triage and the treatment, but we also need to provide them, and we'll provide them with numbers for local providers. And this is in an effort to, you're going to treat the patient, but you want them to be able to access primary care providers and maybe not access the emergency room as much when it's not an emergency, but we need to make sure that we're providing that information to them, the numbers of these providers, the options of care for these providers. And of course, we generally do, if they don't have a provider, we generally, you know, refer them to the Weems clinics. It's close and it's right there, and we have all that information. But we provide them with that option. The physicians always do that already anyway on the discharge planning if they don't come in with a provider. When they come in and they're triaged, the nurses have to enter their primary care physician as part of the triage. And if they don't have, and the names of all our local providers and even some of the ones that are used in surrounding counties are listed there. And if they don't have a provider, then we put no PCP, and then the physician refers them to the clinics, depending on, you know, where they live in the county. So all that's been done.
Now, Gordon, do we need to vote on that? Is that a vote?
Yeah, we'll need a vote, we'll need a vote on that. Those policies, as an action item.
So you explained all of the attachments to the ACA report, right?
Yes, sir.
Regulations. These are all regulations that are required by ACA
They're required.
anyway.
Yes, sir.
So basically, what's the pleasure of the board to vote on this? Everybody have a motion?
Motion?
Got a second? Second. All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous?
That's always a battle for the ER, is it not, Corey?
Yeah, it is. It is, and I think it's just the way it is, and it's
It
small
is.
town as well, you know, so.
You're correct.
Access to care. And that visitation policy is posted on our it's a requirement, and it's posted on our website as well, just so everybody knows, all of those.
Okay, great.
The only other thing I have is that radiology had their Mammography Quality Standards Act inspection by the Food and Drug Administration on Tuesday, and it was signed off, and everything looked great. And they come in and they do an inspection of our equipment, of our radiologists, of our memo techs, as well as our physicists that read all these things and such. So they came in, they were there on Tuesday and took care of all that and got signed off by the state, and everything is clear. It's an annual inspection.
Great.
So doing good on the mammo stuff. We still have the tech come in one day a week, and she was busy this week, busy all day. So we're thankful for that.
Do we need to add more days for that technician, or
We've
what?
talked about that before, but I don't think so, because she comes one full day a week at this point. If we see the need, we definitely will, and we still have a posting. As far as I haven't looked at the website in the last couple of weeks, but we generally always have a posting for additional mammo techs. It'd be nice to have somebody that could come in additional days, or PRN as well. And so we'll continue to monitor that in the numbers. And while I'm saying that, we did, I don't know if we mentioned this, but we did hire a PRN additional ultrasound tech, because Amanda's been our only ultrasound tech ever since we started. Yes. So she works Monday through Friday all day, and then she's on call 24 hours a day, every day. So we've hired an additional one that's probably about a month in with Orient and with Amanda, and she's doing great, and it's a great asset for us to have that. So if Amanda's out of town, we don't have to send them somewhere else or wait a couple of days. And of course, Amanda has a life too, so she needs to not be on call 24/7. So thankful to have the new girl working, and she's doing great. So,
Great.
and that is all I have. Dr. Conrad wanted me to just mention that staffing numbers are up, admission numbers are up, and we're continuing to work forward and move forward on that.
Great. Anybody have any questions for Courtney?
Yes,
Do good work, Court.
Thank you.
I have one.
All right.
How come every time I call here, I wind up in the emergency room, lady answering the phone?
When you call the main hospital?
When I'm calling the main hospital number somehow or other, when I'm looking for Heather, I wind
Heather.
up in the emergency room
What time of day are you calling?
during the day.
Well, do you know Heather's extension?
Right.
Can you just enter her extension? Or whoever's extension?
Sometimes it
Or
takes
just
me
email
some
her,
minutes
Heather,
to-
call me.
No, but what probably happens also, John, when you're calling in, if the front office number is busy,
Right.
if they're on the phone, it probably roll over.
It rolls over to the emergency department.
Okay. I haven't got the front office in the last 4 months.
Now, what extension have
And I've
you
been
cooked?
getting, I apologize to the lady in the emergency room every time. Say, I'm sorry, I'm getting you. What?
She's probably like, oh God, it's John again.
It is.
Well, that's okay. It's part of her job as well. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's part of her job, but
it's
I'm
part of
gonna
her job as well.
check, and I'll check also. I'll make a call right after this meeting, really.
Well, you sure that y'all don't have some bug in that phone system that says, take me to the emergency?
I'm certain, because
If I'm this number.
I think I get,
They probably seem to find you, don't they, Court?
I was gonna say, I think I get about 80% of the calls for all kinds of stuff. They just forward it to me, so I can get you an extension list if you'd like. I can email it to you. I'll take mine off, but.
It will be redacted.
And I may be having some difficulty with my extension because I'm moving to a new location, so,
Where are you moving?
to the clinic.
To the clinic, remember?
Yeah, we got the CT stuff starting
I'm
soon.
sacrificing
I'm sure
my
Craig will
office.
update on that.
Craig gonna give an update on that, but I'm sacrificing my office location. I'm sacrificing,
For that big machine.
yeah, for that state-of-the-art machine.
For the
there.
patients, yes,
For
you
the
are.
patients, we really, really want it, so I'm very excited about this stuff.
Okay, I'm sorry I diverted on you.
All right. We're coming back out of that rabbit hole now. What do we got next? Dr. Conrad, we said he's not going to be here, so.
He worked
James.
yesterday, last night. He just got off this morning, just
Yeah, that's
FYI.
understandable.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why I was a little reticent about having it down here is.
Yeah, it's
he
harder
can't-
for the
he
people
can't
to get
jump
here.
in. It's harder for people in the
That's right.
staff to come here.
It
and-
definitely
and
is.
speak in front of us, so.
But I'll just
But-
continue to touch base with him before and point out anything he wants us to, if he
Okay.
can't be here.
You gonna wear another hat? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, James.
Good
your
morning.
EMS report.
Good morning, James.
All right, start off with, some of you may not have known, the county has hired a new EMS director. He will start on April 1st. That he is not me. They do ask that from this point forward, any concerns or questions related to the county EMS be forwarded or directed directly to the EMS consultant, Richard Lewis, for anything county EMS related. The new guy should do great. I know him. He's a good guy. He's more than qualified to do the job. So I have no doubts he'll do good.
But we're not losing you.
I have applied. I did put my application in for the captain and paramedic spot. So, but for the time being, up until the transition is complete, June 1st, as of right now, I will remain as the Weems ambulance EMS director.
Who is the new person?
Well, okay, while James is up there, let me just give you some insight. So the new EMS director, his name is Christian Graham. He works for Air Methods, and he should start on April 1st. And as soon as he get on board, we'll have a meeting with him as well. Have a meeting with him, Michael, Aaron, and David Bowling, and then we'll also have a meeting with James. But he starts April 1st. Christian Graham is a new Franklin County EMS director. And also, the transition for EMS has been delayed probably to after June 1st. So when the new EMS director, he gets on board, he has a lot of stuff he has to do, to get the program up and running, and then we'll just cover EMS more than likely, probably until June, more than likely. But we'll come back with an update before that. Go ahead, James.
Staffing-wise, we're still good. I've lost one captain, has resigned. He's going to enjoy his retirement. But other than that, I'm still pretty well staffed. Going down the transport report for March 1st till yesterday, I ran the numbers, and I can say we transported a total of 5 patients to Bay Medical, 4 patients so far to Gulf Coast, 25 to TMH, 5 to Capital Regional in Tallahassee, 5 to St. Joe, and 23 to Weems. And we've had 5 life flights. Going into the overtime from February 23rd to March 8th. We had 31 hours of call outs, which I covered with 15 hours of overtime for $584. And from March 9th to March 22nd, I had 228 hours of call outs, which I covered with 102 and a half hours of overtime for a total of $3,985. So it started out great. The first part of March started out great. That first week was like $300, and then the second week hit and it just fell to pieces. Other than that, I don't have anything further. If you have any questions for me, that's fine.
Well, James, I just want to say thank you for your service
Absolutely.
to the hospital and to the county. You've been a great asset here, working with myself and Colleen with the foundation, getting the AEDs in place. You've always been available and responsive to the needs of the community. I guess sorry you didn't get that position that was available, but I do want to say thank you for everything you've done so far.
I'll second that. You're phenomenal, James. We appreciate you.
Like I said, Christian is more than qualified. He'll do a good job.
I hope you'll still be around.
I will. I'll be. Hopefully I'll get one of the captain's positions.
Great.
And maybe
Yeah.
I can potentially work with him and continue working with him in some sort of way.
And we'll want that. And when I have a conversation with him as well, Christian, the new person, is that we really want a seamless transition, because Christian is coming. He's new to the county, so he'll need somebody like James really to work with him. So we're looking to have a smooth transition and work with Christian and James. James has done a great job as the EMS director, he's grown, he's watching his budget financially, closer than mostly any director that we have. But he's community-oriented, and that's what we like. We want EMS to continue to be community-oriented, be a part of the community, with community partnerships here. So we'll work hard to make sure, Christian and James, everybody's going down the same road so we can have that good transition from EMS to the county.
I'm pulling for you, James.
I appreciate it.
Again, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Susie, what do you got for us on the clinics?
Application,
What you got?
she has an application.
for a
Well, while the pharmacy is still on everyone's mind, one of the things I didn't bring up at that moment was if we do the pharmacy, it will also help with patients automating their refills. You don't think of that, but it will take the tasks off of my staff. Because it'll be something that's already hopefully in a very good computerized system, and they can just come to the pharmacy, pull it up, instead of it coming through electronically or by fax or by phone call or people walking in the door, hey, I need my drugs. So that's a big consideration for people for the turnaround time for them to get medication. We've lost a nurse at the clinic in Apalachicola, and it was due to wages. And so we're looking for another LPN or higher, if you can, because we need somebody of that level, skill level, so that we can give injections.
Susie,
not just
are
provide.
we not competitive in that nursing staff in the clinic?
We do our evaluations with the percentage increases and everything. I think we've been pretty much competitive with it. But when they're, asking for $4 to $6 more an hour or giving that, that's kind of hard to.
Our $5,000 signing bonus.
And, you want to.
For a nurse, for LPN.
For an LPN, for $5,000 sign-on bonus plus the hourly rates.
Yeah, so I think we're somewhat competitive, for our particular area, but still, you still have those that get hired outside this area, that pays more. That's something we'll continue to look at with our staffing increases. But I don't know if Susie has this on her report, but I want to give a big shout out to Susie because our rural health clinics have gotten licensed for another 5 years.
6 years, yeah.
6 years. 6 years.
Nice.
Yeah, Ages
I
for
can
Health-
work on my CDL license,
Well-
ride the bus.
Well, when Susie first started years ago, we were trying to, the clinics, I think they had some kind of designation. I was on the board,
Or just regular clinic.
a regular clinic, and then we pushed for the rural health clinic, rural health center model. So Susie was instrumental in getting that. And so ACA, Agency for Healthcare Administration, came down unannounced a couple months ago and did the clinic in Apalachicola.
Appalachia.
And then 2 days ago, out of blue, they just showed up in Carabel, out of the blue, and to do an inspection.
Yes.
And then,
Yes, it's great for blood pressure.
and then they gave us the approval. So for the next 6 years, both clinics are licensed as rural health centers. So Susie and her team, great job.
Yeah.
It's a team.
You do a great job, Susie.
Great job. So there's a lot of things behind the scenes that you really don't know, but the staff
Goes
continue
on.
to be working on, and then they also have their own issues that they're dealing with, personally, but they still continue to work and serve these patients in the community, and it's so important.
It is a good team.
It's a good team, a good team. And when I see guys riding a lawnmower to an appointment, here in Apalachicola.
Yeah,
They do.
No, they do.
Yeah, they
They
do.
do.
These are the patients that we see. And so, our hearts go out to our patients, but our team, really, they're a part of this community, and they're doing a great job. So
Yeah,
thank
or
you, Susan.
you are encouraging people to take care of themselves, and our providers do an excellent job with
They
that.
do.
They really
They
do.
do.
Do we have to get a new phone system to do all that prescription stuff?
Well, it'll be an extension, I'm sure, to the pharmacy, and I'm sure with their guidance, they'll tell us how to best serve to get an electronic prescription refills, interface with our current system that we have. So, but a lot of these medications require prior authorizations, especially in this new year with the administration changes with Medicare and Medicaid, pharmacy changes. One of our big insurers in the area, they almost want a prior authorization on everything. So there's
Girl,
a
do
difference
not talk
between
to
a
me about 'em.
referral and a
It's
prior
horrible.
authorization.
It's horrible.
And I can say just, there was a couple the other day, and it's like weight loss drugs. That's a big
Yes,
thing
Ozempic.
for us,
It's a huge
right?
one.
And I have a short staff. I have three nurses right now. And when you're spending 7 to 8 hours.
That's correct.
On one person's
Mhm.
prior authorizations over
She's
the
right.
week, that's a lot of time away from patient care, right? So, not that that will change dramatically if we had our own pharmacy, but I'm hoping it'll be a little bit more seamless.
I had to send 4 PAs to get a patient approved for Ozempic
Yeah.
with an A1C of 8.9, something like
Yeah.
that, which,
You
thank
sent
God
it
I
back
had
in.
nurses to do that for me, but like you're saying, 4.
Right, right. It is incredible the amount of time, and with the referrals to specialists, you know, and prior authorizations have just almost doubled and tripled.
That's correct.
From insurance companies.
That's why
because-
providers are leaving.
That's right, that's right. So, just that's one of those things that if we had a pharmacy, that would take one of those new changes off of the staff, because we always have to flex with it and still try to provide daily patient care and room patients. And so it's a great team, but I do want people to understand it's not an automatic process. Patients
that's
don't
right.
understand that. I think last time I talked about just insurance cards and people understanding their insurance cards. They have to understand the prior authorization system. Takes a long time to get somebody 2 and 3 times, and then a patient will get frustrated and, oh, I want to try this drug instead because my neighbor's doing it. No, I want to go to this pharmacy instead. It takes a lot of work. So it's a big applause to my staff for always putting through with it and still doing it with a smile on their
That's
face.
correct.
So,
It's hard.
and thank you to the foundation for, we'll be able to secure those disability exam table chairs. It took me a little while because I wanted to identify the right type of chair for the size of the rooms that we have, but also that had other things available with movable arms, with a scale that can take somebody's weight while they're in the chair. So if
Oh,
we had to
that's awesome.
transfer them from their chair to that table, and the table itself moves up, and it can also measure their length, so, which is important in bone density care. So,
And that's important with the, just going back to the exam tables, you know, the foundation is paying for part of that, and we also have a donor that is paying for the other part of those tables. But the donor did call me again and say, hey, David, you know, I want to send you another check. I don't have the check yet, but, you know, so we have donors that are really reaching out to us, really, you know, wanted to do something good for the hospital. And so those exam tables are going to be very important, and then as we begin to do that, we'll look at other areas.
yep. So, that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me on anything?
Anybody
COVID
got any
and
questions?
strep and flu are still out there, so please make sure
Yes,
that
they
you're being careful in the community and crowds and washing hands and doing all that good stuff. Wearing masks when appropriate. Just because it's not a national news about COVID and masks, it's still
Yeah.
appropriate to wear a mask.
So have we seen anything like that around here yet?
Yes, we have COVID going in 1 or 2 or 3 spatterings. It's coming back around, just won't go away.
Right.
But flu and strep are the 2 partners that are coming together with people. And strep doesn't necessarily show up with your typical signs of fever or anything else. It can start with a stomach ache. So people have to start mentioning all their symptoms to a provider and come in to get checked, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. So,
And you're talking about that new strain.
no, I'm not talking about that new strain. I'm talking about your typical flu A and B and strep and COVID.
Well,
Yeah.
you got a new strain of COVID, right?
Probably, yeah. But
Just
this,
came out.
we can't identify
The
what
strain of
that
COVID,
strain is from the
right.
COVID point of care
From a
kits
test.
that we have. We would have to do more
Right. You
type
have to
of
do blood
specialized
tests.
testing, and probably insurance companies wouldn't cover that.
No.
So you're treating the disease or the symptoms of anything that you get the same way.
And the new strain been out maybe a couple of months ago. You know, it's not really, you know, you're not really getting all of your symptoms like the other COVID strain would be. You know, you think you may have something not even COVID related, then you get tested, wind up having COVID. So, and it may get, now we have spring break season. So, you know, anytime you have high populations of individuals that are
Cohort together.
gathering,
Yeah.
you know, you'll probably see those infections go up.
Yeah, COVID's just a strange virus. It's just a strange virus, unlike anything we've ever seen.
Yep. So, anything else? No?
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Susie.
Thank you,
Thank
Susie.
you.
Appreciate it.
I'll be her new neighbor pretty soon.
Well, I'm sure she's thrilled. Bake her a cake.
Okay. Craig, plant operations, what do you got for us?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Craig.
All right, so we received the plan review report for the CT, and we've gotten approved to start construction on that, which we will start March the 30th. They're going to send down, I believe David and I just got an update, 1 o'clock the 30th. John LaCour and the other superintendent's going to meet us for just to go over, and then they will come in Tuesday and start construction. They're going to come in and look and see what we need to block off, doorways and things like that, put a dumpster outside. We've already kind of laid that out anyway, but we're going to finally get, started on that. Now,
That's a CT room.
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about right now.
where he's going to be.
Are you out?
That
Are
you're
you out yet?
Yeah,
Are
not
you out
yet.
yet?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
He's out.
supposedly.
Good Lord.
Yep, we're making plans right now, getting that ready for him.
About time.
So the generator has not
John,
been
I heard
approved
that,
yet,
John.
which is the other second part of this project. It's mostly, they want to see the codes written in, that what you have, what's going in there. There's a couple of, it's mainly electrical. It's all on the electrical engineer. So the architect has everything. So does James Lamb, the electrical engineer. So they're looking over that. So as soon as they get back to us, we'll get that back in there to review. Hopefully, by the time we get this CT in, they'll be cleared and we can keep moving with the project.
Yeah, Craig, wasn't it that ACA came in and wanted something different from the electrical that we had previously? They asked for something else?
Yeah, they added to it.
They added to it, yeah, thank you.
They want another transfer switch. We had 4, they want 5. They want to know, they want to see the scope of work on the temporary fuel tank that we've got to have, because the tank that came with the generator is not big enough to operate for 96 hours, and that's the requirement. It has to be able to operate 96 hours. We have to have 1,400 gallons of fuel on hand as backup. So all that, we can take care of that. That's no problem. They want all calculations for all the new distribution panels also.
Is that propane it runs off?
No, sir, diesel.
Diesel fuel?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And like I just said, we're going to be moving David out and kicking him out to next door. And
I'll just bother everybody at the clinic. But I really think this is going to be good for us because, when I'm in my office when it's cold, we rolling patients outside to that CT machine.
it's horrible.
That's not good. And so we're really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to moving just to get out the spot so we get that CT machine in there. Now, I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be in the clinic, but, but at any rate, it's really it's going to be a good time, a good day for Franklin County because our CT machine, state of the art, would be inside the building there. So we're really looking forward to that.
What are we doing with that trailer?
We're going to get rid of it.
What are we
Outta
doing
here.
with it?
Get rid of it?
out of here.
Get it out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might need it for
Can we not
construction
utilize it for
purposes
something?
over at the clinic.
No. Hopefully they can get it out in one piece. It's been there since 2011,
Falling apart.
I believe.
Yeah, it's 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to really everything about this and looking forward to being over at the clinic. I think I am, so we'll see.
We're moving him from this to this.
Yeah.
My little heart just bleeds for you,
Yeah, from here
Walker.
to here,
So we don't have to paint the trailer ceiling anymore, the top of the building?
No.
No more Cool Whip or whatever you put up there?
No.
So we're just throwing it in the
And
burn
not
pile.
running out there and putting grease on that sliding door that don't want to come when they,
Yeah.
go out there either.
Yes.
Yeah,
but it's all good though.
but yeah, no, it is good. It's taking us a long time, but that, it's here. I was fortunate enough to go to Calhoun Liberty Hospital on March the 11th. Our Big Bend Healthcare Coalition that we're a member of, they were putting on a shelter-in-place training. It's train the trainer is what it is. Because we don't know what's going down our roads in these big trucks. All sorts of chemicals. If we ever have a chemical spill, depending on what it is, we've got to have a place that we're going to shelter in the hospital. Shelter in place. I'm looking for a place that will house everyone We have to go in there, seal off the doors, windows, because we don't know how long we're going to have to stay in there. And it's a matter of cutting plastic and duct tape, everything around. And some things that came up in the training was, you want a place that you're going to have water. And the number one thing was a bathroom. So that's what I'm looking for right now. Water's not a big deal. We can roll carts of water down on our carts that we have and pump water out. But you could stay in there 5 or 6 hours before this is, cleared up. We don't know. And there's certain fuels, certain vapors, some things you don't have to worry about. A few years ago, the city had a chlorine spill out at the airport, and we had to evacuate, on fire department, we had to evacuate everybody in the homes there. Because if they stayed there, they could probably, be dead. So it's just things like that. So this is a good thing for us. So we're going to set up a training for that as soon as I locate a place that we can go in, and we won't be very vulnerable.
Greg, are you saying a place that, other than the hospital?
No, inside the hospital.
Inside.
Yeah, you don't want to be running around outside because you don't know where those fumes are. So you're going to that's shelter in place. So we're going to figure out a room that we can do that and get everybody in, patients if we have them, whatever, and get them inside. Yeah, so we'll get that, and then we'll do an actual exercise of it. See how long it takes us to put the duct tape around the plastic and seal up everything, and then, sit there. We'll make a kit after we get through for that room that goes on the particular areas we need to seal up. Yeah. Still waiting on the city to replace our water meter out front. We were having work done on the backflow system that furnishes the water to the hospital. The meter, there was no cutoff valve there, and the meter was not working. And so the city found our cutoff is over across the street on Avenue G. The problem with it is it cuts off our water supply to our fire suppression system also. So when that happened, of course, when we shut the water down, we alerted everybody. We took carts of 5-gallon jugs of water to a couple of bathrooms for visitors and staff, and that way they can flush those toilets. And then we put bottled water in the ER for the staff and the patients, and we took it up front to the break room, put it out there also. With all that being done, in the meantime, I've got to set up a fire watch because now I don't have fire protection. So I alerted our fire chief to let him know about it, and then I took and did my form and went around the place every hour, documented, no issues. Fortunately, it only took about 5 hours to get the water back on. But I'm still waiting on the city to come out there and put the meter in, and I'm going to have them put a cutoff valve there. Is what we want to do. That way we don't have that issue anymore. So I'm waiting on them to, give me a holler back. We're working with Oliver Sperry. We're converting 2 bathrooms to walk-in showers. One is down the patient hall, right by the patient rooms. The other is at the other end of the hall. We are actually in a what they call a desk review with ACA. We don't, right now we haven't heard anything if we need to furnish them anything else. Oliver Sperry has the plans if we need to furnish that. Evan, I can't remember his last name, Evan Tucker, I believe, is heading this up for us, and but we haven't heard anything back from them. We sent it to them about a week ago. So just waiting on that, and hopefully that gets approved and we can get that started also.
We'll be doing a ribbon cutting and refreshments for these bathrooms as well.
Yeah.
You have no idea. You have no idea how needed they are.
Yeah, and this is part of the capital outlay grant money, that we got from the state.
Yeah.
So this is another project here.
Party. Yeah.
Party in the bathroom.
And then the last thing is we've got, probably mid-April, we've got flooring coming that's going to go in the PT room. So we'll do that on a weekend where we don't interfere with the physical therapy coming in.
Can I go back?
Where?
On that fire
classroom,
suppression,
the
that
lobby,
water
PT.
coming through the same valve, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Are y'all putting a bypass in there for that or not?
No, it's just there is a bypass with the water going to that, but we're going to put Rhett Butler on the city. He said they'll put a cutoff valve over here so we don't have to go to that anymore. That pipe comes straight in, and then our main water comes into the hospital and piggybacks in there. In other words, here's your line for the fire suppression, here's the line for the water to the hospital. We cut the water off here. So therefore, this stays on.
Stays on. Okay.
Yes. And then, of course, we have a fire department connection on the back of the hospital. We hook up right to the riser right there. We can put water in the sprinklers anyway. So that's not an issue.
Talking about the brick,
The what?
Carabel Clinic, the pavement.
Oh, I got him this morning, yeah. I showed it to him. Yeah, Mr. Berry had been over to the clinic. There was a section of the sidewalk, for some reason, they had cut this section like this out of where you walk, and it was right at the end of it. Somebody had picked it up or turned it, and anyway, it kicked it up. And so I went over there yesterday and turned it around, took it, cleaned it up, and cemented it back in place. So there's no trip hazard anymore. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know why they did that. But anyway, yeah.
I don't like to micromanage.
Well, a board
He
member.
thinks he does protest too much.
No. Well, a board member was over there. He saw something.
Yeah.
You see
Absolutely.
something. We try to
There you
answer
go.
questions.
It's done.
You see something, you say
I had him
something.
a picture.
Yeah, you see something, say something. We try to.
Well, somebody could have come out that couldn't walk straight. And
Oh, yeah,
gone down on their
absolutely.
nose.
Sure.
Yeah. Been worse shape.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. But it's
Susan,
done.
She'll tell you, she's gonna be the driver, she's gonna be this. and
Yeah.
that. Now the safety officer.
Well, Craig, safety officer.
Yeah, we got it done right away. Y'all got any questions?
Any questions for Craig? Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much, Craig.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
Good
All right,
work.
appreciate y'all. Thank y'all.
You might, there's one thing you might look into, because she brought it up. You might look into what's gonna have to be altered in the phone system to be able to do all this automatic prescription refills and. So, if we gotta add more equipment or do something, we need to know, get down to what it's gonna be in cost.
Now,
All right.
See, I'm already.
Now, do we need a break? Are y'all ready? Y'all
Anybody need a break, or should we push on through?
Let's go.
Push on through? The board says push on through?
Yes,
All right, then we're going to go with the CFO report from Mr. Boland.
It's 11:15. I know people are hungry, so.
Well, that's why we're trying to move it along. It was a lot to get to today.
Miss Dolores isn't here, so
Oh, she's already been raising.
her stomach would be growling. I could hear it. Yes.
Well, I certainly won't take too long then to go through the financials, but I did want to open and mention, though, I really appreciate Brian from Carr Riggs giving his overview of the last year's audit. I mean, that was encouraging, I think, for the board, the community, and certainly the hospital staff on the performance of last year's financials and so forth. So, great job. As we look at the 5 months of this fiscal year to date, which is through February of 2026, I did want to mention that from a consolidated net income standpoint, for those 5 months period, we did finish at a loss of approximately $970,000. That's compared to a positive budget of $107 that we did have set aside for the budget, but in comparison to prior year, the same periods in the prior year, we had a loss of $460 as well. So again, as I stated in the previous month, when you look at actual loss for fiscal year 26 thus far versus these same periods in the prior year, our loss has increased approximately $510,000. Some drivers or highlights for the month of February alone's performance. When we look at gross patient revenues, we did finish up $538,000 or 42% versus this same period last year. Inpatient revenues were the main driver behind that. They were up $560,000 with total patient days up 74 patient days or 200% versus where we were this time last year. Again, swing bed revenues were the main driver or one of the main drivers behind those increased inpatient revenues as well as patient days. Our swing beds were up a total of 59 days or 311%, excuse me, 311% versus the same period last year as well. When you look at the hospitals overall, and I know this was mentioned earlier as well as far as patients in the house or in the hospital, when you look at the hospital's overall average daily census, including patients that are in observation status, we finish at approximately 4.3. So over four patients per day were admitted to the hospital, which again, that is encouraging to see that we're able to continue to provide that inpatient care in this community. That is significantly up versus where we were this time prior year as well. We were at around 1.7, so just under 2 patients on average per day, now running over 4 patients for the month of February. So again, encouraging to see that. Our outpatient revenues were slightly up, approximately $6,000 versus this time last year. Recorded within outpatient, and I know I've mentioned this every month, but recorded within outpatient it includes our ER activity. ER visits, though, were down 53 or 13% versus the same period in the prior year. The hospital did, though, average during the month of February approximately 12 ER visits per day. That did rebound, as was mentioned earlier in the meeting. That did rebound from where we were in the previous month. But I still want to, mention that, it is comparable to where we were on a trailing 12 months, but we have seen those declines year over year within our ER, and we talked about that last month. We're still going to dive into that. That is still very concerning for this hospital, and we're going to continue to approach ways to bring back some of that market share that has moved more west. With our outpatient visits, and I mentioned this already earlier about the outpatient revenues, but our outpatient visits although revenues were up, we did finish slightly down, 24 or 8% versus the same period. But one of the drivers behind the increased revenues that we are experiencing, and I know this was even mentioned some earlier about the additional staff needed from an ultrasound standpoint as well as a mammo. We have seen our CTs, our ultrasound and mammo, continuing to exceed year-to-date versus these same periods in the prior year. So again, it's encouraging to see those modalities within our radiology and imaging areas increasing. The clinics, I know Susie, I won't just mention a lot about the clinics. I won't dive too deep into those, but our rural health clinics were down 28,000 versus the prior year, with combined clinic visits of both locations finishing down around 14% or 82 visits. Our East Clinic provider was out of the office about 5 days, I believe it was, during the month of February as well. So those out-of-office activities does contribute to the lesser visits. James had already discussed about EMS, but EMS was relatively flat versus the same period in the prior year. I know the profit and loss statement is included in the board packet. We did see, as he did mention, total billable trips finishing the current period at 117, current period of February. That's versus 94 last February. So total billable total billable trips were up year over year. Our net patient revenue, again, what we expect to receive for the services that's being provided here at Weems, our net patient revenue finished up approximately $122,000, or roughly 17% versus this same actual period in prior year. Again, primary drivers behind those increased net patient revenues certainly was from the increase in the inpatient activity, which does again include higher acuity related services when you're providing inpatient care. Within total non-operating revenues, again, I'm walking down the profit and loss statement. Within total non-operating revenues and in comparison to last year, again, that's where our 340B program is recorded. I know Brian had mentioned from Carr Riggs, our 340B program was up 25 versus fiscal year 25 versus 24. We are seeing, again, a solid performance in 26 as well as we're working through this. With our 340B program. We did see though during the month of February of we were down though versus where we were last February. And, we certainly contribute that to some lower volume, lower prescriptions that did come out of the East Clinic, which has been down for the past 2 months. So I do think once that patient volume picks back up in that community or in that clinic, we will see those prescriptions rise. Additionally, within non-operating revenues, you'll notice this for the month of February of 2026, we were able to recognize approximately $60,000 or so in grant dollars that had been associated with the previously awarded Rural Hospital Capital Improvement Grant. I know Craig has mentioned about a lot of the projects that are in works today, and you heard Brian mention those monies again sit on the balance sheet where they're taken into income once we're able to meet those obligations related to those grants. Just moving down into the operating expenses to kind of give a brief update on operating expenses. When you look at the total hospital operating expenses, we were up approximately $183,000 or 19% versus last year versus the same period in last year. Personnel costs, and I know I say this nearly every month, personnel costs, which includes our salaries, wages, our benefits, any type of premium contract-related labor. Those were slightly up when you look at that combined versus where we were this time last year. That is, though, driven from patient volumes. And as I mentioned earlier, we had some inpatient activity that is the main driver behind a lot of those increase in staffing. Management does and continues to do an excellent job of monitoring daily labor productivity. That process and tool is in place for the hospital. And, for example, our most recent pay period, which ended March 8th of 2026, the targeted FTEs for Weems was at 100% productive, or at approximately 90 FTEs, which again, kudos to the team for managing staffing, to the productivity or the patient care and patient volume that's being delivered here at the hospital. Professional fees, you'll notice that within and this was brought up, Mr. Berry, related to the audit. No, the transition from the ER group did not take place during last year's audited financials, but it is in this year's. So obviously you can see within professional fees, they're up approximately $37,000 from where it was this time last year. Now recall those visits related to the ER professionals being billed, so those numbers are up in the revenue line. Again, just in summary, for the month of February of 2026, our consolidated net income, we had a loss of approximately $37,000 for the month of February alone, falling just short of the same actual period in the prior year with a loss of $29,000. So our loss did increase year over year, but we've had some encouragement within some of the activities that I just mentioned earlier related to inpatient volumes and so forth. That's going to certainly help contribute and drive stronger results. I'll pause just for a minute before I jump into the balance sheet, make a few balance sheet cash flow questions, see if there's any questions related to the profit.
Well, it looks to me like going through the non-operating expenses, our 340B is what really contributed to the difference in the current month versus last year's current month, right?
That's correct.
We're at 37,009, we're at 8.8, but you lost 27,000 on your 340B.
That's right.
There it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, the 340B, we do obviously expect that to rebound. Obviously, as visits are taking place within the clinics, whenever the visit activity is down, you have less prescriptions to capture.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between tourist influx and ER visits?
Yeah, I think
It's a bell curve.
Well, you have more, when the tourists here.
I'm really wondering, we never bring up what the tourist trade is doing, coming in with regards and how it references or tracks with our visits.
It always picks up, obviously, in the spring and summer. You got all kinds of catfish, hooks, barbs, stingrays, lots and lots of stingrays. People slip on the rocks at the cut, enough for us to talk about. So our numbers, it's not necessarily the acuity of the patient, but the visit numbers definitely increase during the summer.
Well, that's during the summer, but we want to stay with this month, February to February. What's changed? Did our volume of visitors change also from a year ago to this year?
I do not know that. We'd have to probably have admissions or somebody pull maybe the demographics to see what different areas these people are coming from.
Or are we just getting a healthier community?
I'd like to
Well,
think so.
Well, if I was with the health department, I'd say yes. But, go ahead.
You know, I can chime in. I mean, like I mentioned last month, I mean, and again, we did the deep dive and are continuing to do the deep dives. And certainly as we look forward to our upcoming strategic planning session where we pull market data, I mean, we do analyze where the patient pattern's going. And I pulled up my notes from last month. I mean, you know, we pulled the 3-year claim history on our ER visit trends for Franklin County residents. That takeaway, obviously, is our total market volume is down about 10% for Weems Hospital. And that's for Franklin County residents over the past 3 years within ER related claims history. And however, you know, that is primarily on the western side of the county in Appalachia, because we've seen, conversely, or we've seen Ascension's share up 9%. So you can see nearly a direct correlation of shifting
That's where they're going.
patients heading that, you know, in that direction.
I
Because
mean, I'm there. I know that they're coming there. I'm there
the other
to see it.
1%, the other 1%'s around Tallahassee. So again, so you can see that
9%.
dynamic shifting and has shifted, you know, some of that direction.
David, didn't we talk about transfers with the ambulance? Because I think there was some transfer issues in February where 16 or so people didn't get transferred to Weems but went to other facilities. Now, that seems to be an anomaly because we looked at January and we looked at March, and there was only maybe 4 transfers, but February seems to be an exceedingly high number.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, again, what we've analyzed and discussed with James over time, you know, we haven't seen any patterns within transfers shifting any direction other than obviously continuing to come here. Again, I think, like you said, February could have been an anomaly related to that. We haven't seen any patterns over the past years, really, with transfer history.
Does Ascension do a lot of advertising in our area?
I don't know if it's advertising. You know, I mean, people, you know, healthcare is a choice, so people can go where they want to go.
They have a big new shiny building.
They have
That's
a big new shiny
That's
building.
a lot of it.
If you look at it, if you look at the numbers, I was talking to individuals from not Gulf County, but Calhoun Liberty. With their new hospital, I think their ED
What are they
visits.
seeing?
They've
it's
increased
nearly-
already.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
They've already
Because it's a
increased
brand
in
new
numbers.
shiny
Yes,
hospital.
They're up
I mean, it
15.
helps.
All the bells and
15%
whistles and all the things.
Yeah.
15%, you said,
Yeah.
David?
15% or more.
Just since their new
in the
facility.
ER.
And it's less than a year, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you look at the acuity level, and we analyze that as well, the acuity level that's being cared for here. I mean, the acuity level is relatively flat, meaning we're caring for the same
Types of patients.
same types of patients that we have always continued to care for. So we haven't seen any shifting. You know, we haven't seen, like, for example, we haven't seen the lesser acute staying here, higher acute going elsewhere. So clearly, it is just market shift of overall market volume.
Well, another thing I
related
want to
that.
add is Ascension has a network. And what I mean by that is we've just hired an orthopedic surgeon. We've just hired another cardiologist. We're thinking about hiring a GI that comes twice a week. So they have a network of specialists over there. So people think, well, if I go to the ER, I'm inpatient and I can see this cardiologist in my primary. So they're developing a network, and that's one thing that we're lacking, not because we're a bad hospital, because we lack the resources. So that helps a lot when you can see your primary upstairs, and I can refer you downstairs to cardiology to get your echocardiogram, and you can do your wife can do your memory. Everything's right there on site. So they're introducing a network, and that helps. That's extremely important when you've got patients with multiple comorbidities and multiple diseases and multiple health issues. So that's a big factor.
And that's something that I don't want to, it's part of my report, but the new transformation grant, You know, with the 7 hospitals that are partnering together, you know,
Yeah.
specialty care would be one of the big ones that we were going for, because we don't have that here.
No, we don't.
You know, so, you know, part of that grant that we're going to participate in, you know, will be focusing on.
Would bring more specialty.
Yeah, specialty care here, so.
Which we need so desperately.
Yeah, and just to put maybe a little more, just a little bit more color on the ER traffic. I mean, when you look at, and I would just pull this up as well, if you look at March, for example, months of March through September, and I'm basing this on historical, actually looking at last year, you know, March through September, we averaged about 414 visits per month. Okay, and this could correlate to what you're asking from a tourist standpoint. March through September, 414. The other months outside of that is around 383. So, I mean, there could be some correlation during those periods of time where you may have higher tourism that is contributing to higher ER traffic. But again, I'm just basing that on
Yeah.
last year's numbers.
Yeah.
So all of this really has got to be melded together for us to be able to come up with a recommendation. And I'm assuming that we have to make a recommendation on whether we're going to stay critical access versus REH, right?
Well, we got, like I mentioned just a moment ago too, we got our strategic planning. I think that has already been hopefully set, I know the timeline and so forth has already been shared, but we're planning to have that report out in discussion with the board in June of this year, so June 2026. So that, you know, between now and then, I mean, we're doing a lot of deep dive analytics into market volumes, physician, you know, provider needs, and so forth to help bring that, help add to that decision.
And that'll be a part of, I got it on my report about the strategic planning dates, and so we'll talk about that also. And look at that particular data as we begin the strategic plan for the next 3 years, you know, as a board, you know, what you're seeing, and then you begin to look at the data as well. Keeping in mind that if you go REH, Rural Emergency Hospital, you lose the pharmacy.
Forget the pharmacy.
Automatically.
340B. Yeah, that 340B, that line
You've
is.
ingrained that in me. I already got that.
Okay. But we
We
have.
just have to figure out what
Yeah.
outweighs the REH compared to critical access.
Yeah, and Baker Tilly did the numbers, you know.
I think what's important here to consider is the shiny new facility that we talked about, and certainly we can do a couple of things to clean up our facility to make it a little bit nicer, which maybe if we're not going to get the new construction on the emergency room passed through the BOCC, they're on the calendar for 2028. Do we go forward and make some changes to make it, clean it up and to make it nicer with some dollars, just so that we have a little bit of a newer, shinier looking facility? That's a question too that should be on the board's mind, on whether it's worthwhile to put a Band-Aid on the pig or whether get rid of the pig and get a new pig.
Well, my philosophy is always just to keep going. And so, you know, anytime we get dollars, you know, we want to make sure we upkeep our facilities. And so the ED is another area that we'll focus on, you know, repainting the rooms. You know, we've already put new flooring in there already.
New bathrooms are
We
necessary.
added TVs to all the rooms,
bathrooms,
correct?
yeah, the TVs in there.
Ish.
Yeah, there's TVs in there.
Yeah, so we want to make sure that we do what we can and not wait. You know, like when I first got in, I was on the board, we waited and the facility was going down. Like, no, I'm not waiting, you know, whatever we do with a new facility, the one that we have, let's keep that up and make it as excellent as we can. You know, and then if we do get a new facility, then we still can sub out those rooms to other services and things like that. But we'll continue to invest in the.
In part of the grant, also to restore the cabinets in the emergency department as well. That's a part on one of our punch lists for this year. But I agree, Bill. I think often we go, oh, we're going to get a new facility, so we're going to wait. And here we are continuing to wait.
Right, and you know, who's to say they're not going to kick the can further down the road?
That's exactly right.
Besides 2028, so.
Been kicking it since 2011.
Right.
We're already seeing that, you know, 10% of our patients are going to the
That's
shiny
right.
new facility. I think we have to take a stand and.
I agree,
and
100%.
clean it up.
Yeah, but we're not waiting, like I said before. If you look at all our plans here, you know, we've been investing into the building. And so we will continue to invest, as long as we get the capital outlay money, you know, we'll get that money again, and then we'll come up with another plan, you know, and then we'll just continue to do what we can with it, you know, because I'm not the one to wait. You know, I believe in we should have the best we can, no matter where we are. Like you said, we'll continue to put money into it so we can clean it up. And the bathrooms, in the ED bathroom is one that we probably need to redo that area as well. But I know we're doing the cabinets, we've got new flooring in there. We'll, continue to hit it, till we bring it up to where it needs to be.
Well, I don't know, when I go into a restaurant, I look at the bathroom and make sure.
Yeah.
If the bathroom's clean and nice, the rest of the restaurant's probably clean and nice, because that's what they're showing you. Same thing with the emergency room. If someone walks into that bathroom and it looks like an old rundown crappy bathroom, how do I know the rest of it's clean and bright and shiny and good? So I think it's key to get the bathrooms cleaned up in the emergency room and do what we can to make sure that the facility is as nice when people walk in as possible.
Yeah, and I think the bathrooms in our lobbies, those bathrooms are good.
Yeah.
We kind of redid those, but the inpatient part, they're old bathrooms, so we really need to get that, like you said, modernized. So we want to modernize our building wherever
Yep.
we can do it, that's all.
Okay.
So just some balance sheet cash flow comments and updates. Of course, cash position, overall cash position, is holding steady. I'll say steady with our current patient volumes. The delay, though, that in the state fiscal year 26 dish payments, Brian mentioned this earlier as well, about 6 months behind from where we normally would have received cash. That is making an impact, and it's not just an impact here, it's certainly an impact at a lot of the Florida-based hospitals that Alliant currently supports, and that has certainly impacted our hospital's performance year over year when you look at total cash. And I'll give you just a number to look at. When you see total cash collections, we're down approximately $1.1 million from where we were this last fiscal year to date. And again, that is driven from this decrease in dish monies. Because when you compare the patient cash, right, the collections that we receive through the insurance companies as well as any type of patient cash that is collected, when you look at patient activity, that's relatively flat year over year. So, we have been able to capture our patient cash related to that. Just our total cash from dish is certainly impacting us. Days cash on hand did finish at approximately 43 days, is down from 56 in the previous month. So as I mentioned, cash is bleeding, lack of better words, in this situation because of that decrease or that slow in releasing of the dish monies that we typically or normally would have received at this point.
And what is the real reason for this being so far behind as far as these payments?
I mean, we can I can speculate on a lot of different things, but it is held up in Tallahassee. It is held up, the state has a couple different programs. One is disproportionate share program that we do receive monies through, but there's also a directed payment program, which here at Weems, we don't receive monies through the directed payment program. But a lot of the directed payment program is being held up as it relates to CMS and approving basically the monies that the state of Florida had requested prior to the One Big Beautiful Bill. And so a lot of that is still being held. It's being in discussions. David mentioned this a little earlier. Mary Mayhew with the president of Florida Hospital Association, she has been extremely active and extremely helpful trying to get this moved further down the field and really get this over the finish line for us so that the state can and will release these monies to these Florida facilities. So, John, I think just to shortly answer your comment, David can share a lot of background from what Mary has provided. She sends out frequent communications to the Florida-based facilities, and you're certainly welcome to receive some of that communication so you can see the history and the timelines of this. But in essence, it's being held up right now and waiting on that final approval from CMS to allow Florida to receive the funding and match funding that they had applied for, essentially.
Just another reason why we want the 340B to be a retro payment program either.
Right.
Yeah, and what happened, with the state of Florida and CMS, the federal government, been going back and forth. with what David mentioned about the directed payment program. The DISH program got caught in that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so we're hoping now that the state of Florida will sign the memorandum of understanding that the federal government has sent to them, and so they can begin to start the payments on the DISH program. So it's a lot of politics, I think, but.
Yeah, could be released any day now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our hope, and that's, certainly a lot of the Florida facilities we support, I mean, that's our hope. I mean, they need these monies. And again, these monies, and when I say they need these monies help support, the uncompensated care that's being delivered at these, facilities. That's the intentions of these monies. It is to help fund that shortfall experience from the Medicaid program, as well as the managed Medicaid programs that are paying you under cost of care. Mm-hmm. So that is to help with those gaps.
And some hospitals, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I just don't understand how they have the ability to hold up
Payment.
all these payments when there's been a track record previously. What happened in the process that stopped it? Do we know?
Legislative
I don't have an answer
approvals,
for that.
I guess.
No,
Just the approval
it's not on our legislature,
No.
right?
No, it's statewide.
It's statewide, it's federal.
It's not
And Michael Kozar is on the line. He may have some more
I don't
insight.
think we have,
on that.
We have an answer statewide as to why that's held,
I think Kozar was on there. But he-
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, the whole issue came down to, if you all recall when the big beautiful bill was, being debated, there was a lot of talk about the provider taxes and how those were used, and there was a lot of politics that were involved with, in the state of Florida, because we knew that part of the big beautiful bill, it was going to be, grandfathered in to the amounts you were currently at before the signing of that bill. So the state of Florida very quickly got the counties, all the counties in the state of Florida, to approve an increase in that provider tax that was allocated for it to pull down the Medicaid money. And then there was concern on CMS's part that, that was, not appropriate, I guess you could say. And I know with the meetings that Barry Mayhew had with the President's office, the Chief of Staff of the President, they were supportive of Florida, but the CMS was really concerned about a precedent they would set with Florida. So really where it stands right now is the head of ACA, the Secretary of ACA, has signed a memorandum of understanding that basically says that there will be no hold harmless clauses in the arrangements that are made between the state and the federal government. So I think it's going to be moving forward. What was frustrating on our part was they had already approved Texas, Illinois, and I think there was one other state that actually had more Medicaid dollars and less. One of the things about Florida Medicaid is it's one of the more, what you could say, productive aspects of the Medicaid program. And Florida has done a very efficient job in doing it, and it was not an expansion state. And so hopefully this will be behind us. The amount that is awarded to the state of Florida will be about $7.8 billion, and that's up from the $3.4 billion. And hopefully when they start reallocating, and I seen an email recently that ACA is starting to do the recalculations that are necessary based upon these numbers. So, yeah, it was very frustrating because a lot of as said earlier, a lot of the hospitals really depend upon this to make up the shortfall because Medicaid does not pay us a cost. And so every patient that, we see, we're taking a loss because they're not even compensating us at cost levels. So hopefully moving forward, this will resolve the issue so there'll be a little bit more stability in the coming years with this program.
Well, I just look at it like I would think every American would, and that is, we've got so much fraud being identified in different other states. Here, we're legitimate as devil, and we can't get our money.
Well, and what's frustrating, John, is that this program has been in place for years and years and years, where the IGT and provider taxes to draw down that money. And then, because, there was this sentiment out there that there was fraud going on, that they picked on this program and they picked on Florida to try to set an example. I was a little surprised with the political nature of Florida and the support that we've given the administration through these period of times that they took this approach on Florida. But I'm hoping that moving forward that we'll have some stability in that program and something that hospitals build their budgets on. And it's really affecting not just the small hospitals, but the large hospitals too, that depend upon, these monies to make up that shortfall in the care we deliver to Medicaid patients.
Thank you.
Good question. I really don't have much else. I mean, I think Brian covered a lot of what's still sitting in receivables, other receivables, what's still sitting in other liabilities. Those monies are still there, right, related to what we just basically have discussed. So unless there's any other questions, I don't.
Just add, I just got a message that ACA should approve the dish by 3/31. So by Tuesday, everything should be approved, and then the invoices should come out.
Okay.
So
That's great. That's
we'll
great.
see. I mean, I got it in black and white.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other comment I would relate to cash, although cash has, like I said, been down. Obviously, still there's no vendor payables or so forth. There's none of that at risk. So the hospital still is continuing to cash flow, although those days on cash on hand is going down. So we are seeing some cash challenges. So that's all I had on the financial unless there's any questions.
Anybody?
Thank you.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, to the board as well, related to finances, we have had, just want to bring this up, that we have had some recent interest in the financial services role here at the hospital. We're certainly looking into the needs regarding, whether this is a full-time role or versus the fractional financial services that are being provided today. We wanted to bring that forward to the board so that we can, look to move forward with the candidate, as that candidate does have some interest in potentially coming on board and working for the hospital. So we wanted to discuss those needs with the board and make the board aware of this recent interest in the financial services role for the hospital.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, I see. Can I pep everybody up? Get
You
up.
got
All
8
right,
minutes,
woo-woo.
let's go.
2 minutes.
Everybody went to sleep on the financials.
No.
Not you, I know that.
Not Barry, no.
No,
I
not you.
have 9 minutes.
I have I guess mine is the
Wait, Bill.
financial subcommittee report. I got nothing really to add to the subcommittee report. Murtis and I took a look at the payables, and everything seemed to be where it should be. So I've got nothing really to add on that end. So we can move right on to the CEO report from Mr. Walker.
Okay. Well, before I start, David Walker, CEO, I want to introduce Crystal. Stand up, Crystal. Crystal is the new Robin. Everybody remember Robin Polson?
The new what?
Robin Polson. She was our administrative assistant here. So
Oh,
Kristen
okay. Hi.
is taking a spot there. Kristen is very high level, so, usually, when I always hire good people and wind up promoting them to some other position, but hopefully she can stay with me for a moment before we see a need to promote her to something different. But she's very high level, and we greatly appreciate her, so she'll be helping us out. And so y'all will see some of her names.
Good luck to you.
Welcome, yeah, welcome.
And some of the work she'll take, because Heather now does a lot of stuff for me, and we kind of bounce it back and forth, so she'll take a lot of the load from Heather. Heather really can focus on revenue cycle management there, so we're very excited about having her.
Do you have any accounting background?
No, I do not. I have a master's with like 3 majors, and it's mainly to do with counseling and psychology, but I've also done a lot of other work in the hospital.
Yeah, he was just trying to see if we can help you out.
I'm trying to figure out how I'm getting around this internal control.
Oh, answer no to him.
Yeah, but we don't want to pull her away yet, so I want to keep it as long as I can because, maybe some other things happen for her. Thank you, Crystal.
Yeah, thank you, welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, and my husband is the lab guy.
Okay. I like
Josh, and he's a huge asset to Weems.
Awesome.
Truly, he
it.
is.
Welcome to you both.
All right, so the first item, EMS transition, we talked about that. Let me give you an update on the Rural Transformation Grant, that's ACA. The RFA has not been released yet. Delay is due to lack of legislative budget approval, budget authority. So once ACA get the budget authority, they'll probably go ahead and send do the RFA for the grant, and that's pending state legislative budget action, which we don't have a budget right now. The Rural Health Collaborative, ACA is recommending regional partnerships for funding opportunities. Weems is participating in the 7 hospital regional collaborative. I list the partner hospitals out. The focus area that these rural hospitals want to focus on is specialty care access, because many don't have specialty care, like Kristen was saying earlier. With that, I did send a memorandum of understanding on the legal review to Attorney Schuler. Michael Kozar, he has been very instrumental in drafting the memorandum of understanding. But once again, all of these other hospitals, we're coming together to apply for that particular grant because ACA want to see partnerships.
Mr. Bowen, how many of these hospitals are under your management?
Yeah, we have about 1, 2,
Us being
3,
of that
4. It'll be
us.
4.
4 of them. Okay.
Yes, you have Doctors Memorial, Perry, that's a Lion Hospital. Calhoun Liberty is a Lion Hospital. Northwest Florida is a Lion Hospital. And Weems is a Lion Hospital as well. And then we have Jackson Hospital, Madison County, and Doctors Memorial Bonifay is the participating collaborative members. Now, the board, I'm sure the board don't have any issue with us participating in this collaborative.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And then secondly, I have here, we talked about this before, Department of Health Pharmacy Residency Program Collaboration, April 15th at 1:00 p.m. And I'll send out a notice to John and also the board members if you want to be a part of that meeting. But John, I want you to be a part because you are a designee.
Where is it?
It's going to be in my office.
April
It's at
15th.
1:00.
At what
yeah.
time? I'm sorry.
1 p.m.
1 o'clock. Let me put it in my calendar.
Yeah. And Kristen, I mean, of course, you clinical mind if you,
Sure.
it's free to be there. And so
Yes, please come. I need moral support.
No, so these individuals, from the Department of Health, and they wrote a grant for a pharmacy residency program, and they want to come talk to us to see how can we partner with them.
Okay.
And so that'd be a good conversation to meet with them. I have Wes, our pharmacist as well. Courtney would be involved. Susie would be involved in that meeting. 2026, 2029 strategic planning process. The board mentioned a few months ago that we want to start in June 2026. So I have some dates here, and I'm gonna email these dates out to you all also. But the dates I have for the one-day planning session is June 4th, June 5th, June 18th, or June 19th. So we got June 4th, June 5th, the 18th, or the 19th of June.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there because I think I already talked to you about it, but the 4th and the 5th, I'm not available.
Okay, so how about, we'll need for the members to check the schedules for the 18th or the 19th. And I'll send out an email to you all as well.
So I'm blocking 18th and 19th
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah, the strategic
To have
plan.
lunch with you or what?
Yeah, to have lunch with me.
Where?
Mr. Walker likes to eat lunch.
Yeah, I do, I'm trying to cut back a little bit, but so the strategic planning process, which will be good, we'll spend a half a day, with the data. Belinda would guide us through it as well. And then we'll come up, what kind of vision we want to see for Weems Memorial Hospital here. And so the 18th out of the 19th, so if you all can just let me know. What works best for you all, I'll send you an email and.
That's June.
June, yes.
Yeah. David, would they, Belinda or whoever is running the meeting, would they send us out anything in advance that we could, I think it would really help to have a preparation, some homework that we need to do in advance of the meeting. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. No, her typical process, Bill, is, she'll reach out to each of you. She'll reach out to other community members as well, and she does an interview process to discuss, the community healthcare needs with each individual. So she'll get a list from David and his team as far as, certainly the board members and then any of the county commissioners and anyone else within the community that she can learn from and discuss with what do we want to see for healthcare in this community. So yeah, so she does a lot of work ahead of time.
Okay.
Also, the hospice room, we've already talked about that. I had a phone call last week from Steve Kirschenbaum, who's working with a group to develop workforce housing. And this group is coming to meet with our Weems staff, March 31st at 2 p.m. And the name of the group is called Upward Communities. And they're doing affordable housing for healthcare workers and essential staff in collaboration with Team Franklin. This flyer here, I think, is in your binder there.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at that.
Is that the board you're on, Court? Is that a different?
That's a different
That's
one.
a different one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, Team Franklin is with Bill Williams, the sheriff. Remember that group that's trying to
Yeah.
build housing?
Okay.
Well,
That's the
apparently,
board I'm on.
yeah, apparently they met some.
I'm trying, the one you're on with Mark. Is that a different board?
That's the economic.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
economic.
Okay.
Yes.
But Kristen, I'm on that board for Team Franklin
Okay.
as the subcommittee on health services. So there's, from each one of, there's somebody from the teachers group, the education, and then there's somebody from the sheriff's department and corrective
City.
correctional facility. So they've got input from different areas, but,
Yeah.
and they pulled, the dais is basically mayors and city councilors, city commissioners that are on the dais as far as.
Okay, and so they're coming, this group is coming to meet with the staff, to hear from the staff, about essential workforce housing. What do you like, what would you like to see in the community? What has been the barriers? So we're looking forward to that. They'll come and not interview, but talk with the staff on March 31st.
Okay.
Just a note, Brian Hall, again, will be at the county commission meeting on April 15th. And if you can be there, just to hear his presentation to the county commission on the audit. And so he'll come, what he did today, he'll do that same thing at the county commission meeting on the 15th.
Do we know about where he's going to be on the schedule?
No, Mike Marone just left, but Brian probably be at the top. I'll check with Michael, but I'll try to get that out to you.
Yeah, it'd be helpful, because.
Yeah. Okay. And that's all I have. Our next meeting is April 30th at 9 o'clock here. Thank you all.
All right, thank you, David. Let's see, we have
Kozar.
Mr. Kozar for the Alliant Management Report. Mr. Kozar, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have a whole lot today to, I do appreciate the attendance that we had at our retreat earlier in the month. I think we had a very good session with the, the best practices demonstrations, and I do appreciate the involvement of everybody involved in that aspect. This day two, we had the executives from the 3 state hospital associations that Alliant works with, Kentucky, Alabama, and Florida, to talk about, the Rural Transformation Grant, the work that's being done on the individual states to be able to, understand some of the challenges. And it was really interesting in talking with the president of the Kentucky Hospital Association when they learned of what's happening in Alabama with the state income tax credit that was there, really planned to take that back to Kentucky to see if their state would do. So I think it was very productive. And then on the third day, we had, I think, a very good program presented by the folks down at Doctors Memorial Hospital there in Weems on, managing aggressive behavior. And one of the challenges that we always have with running rural hospitals is how do you handle the security aspects for your staff and your patients. And doctors had sent two or three individuals for training on managing aggressive behavior, and I thought that was a very good thing that we may want to consider for all of our hospitals on how to train our employees to deal with situations that may arise like that, because it is very hard for some of our hospitals to have the financial burden of trying to hire, full-time security staff for the hospitals. So, I spoke a little bit about the DPP money, and David talked about the work that's going on with the Rural Transformation Grant and the collaborative that we're putting together. And I just wanted to just add another sentence or two to that, we in our, in Region 4, we have, 7 or 8 hospitals, 7 or 8 of the rural hospitals that are in the state. And that Region 4 was awarded $41 million as it stands right now. We don't know what the final version will be, is looking at, $41 million for that region to go to these 15 initiatives that the state of Florida has outlined for this big, beautiful bill money that was awarded to all 50 states. And, we felt very strongly that, in our communities, healthcare is what we do. And, we're in many cases the foundation for the healthcare services in our community. And knowing that it would be very difficult for us to compete with some of the other organizations that will be vying for this money, and the emphasis that was placed on by the state to have collaboratives and networks to do this, we felt that it was very important that we band together as rural hospitals to compete and hopefully secure some of these funds to help improve the healthcare status of our communities. Now, the collaborative is again a group of hospitals, as we outlined, 4 aligned hospitals, 3 non-aligned hospitals that all feel that we need to be at the forefront of getting these resources. Now, we won't apply for all 15 of those initiatives because some of them may not be appropriate for our communities, but it is going to be a challenge. And a little disappointed on how this was all put out by the federal government and the states. Personally, I would have liked to see them improve the Medicare and Medicaid rates for us to be able to become more financially viable, but that was not in their vision. And so being able to utilize this in ways, we've had a number of organizations come forward to wanting to partner with us, from telemedicine companies to, even I recently had a meeting with Lauren Fazian Clark with FSU that's interested in providing maybe some of the telemedicine specialists that we could incorporate into our community. So, we're going to continue to pursue this and see what we can do to bring and enhance services in our community. So, That's really what I had for this morning, so I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody would have.
Anybody on the board have a question for Mr. Kozar?
The last comment you made about with FSU, is that so that they become, once they become part of TMH? Or is that something separate? Or is that
I
their
think-
way of trying to reach into the pot and get some of that 40 million?
Well, I'm always a little suspicious, but no, I think, FSU has a strong bench of specialties. And if we can, it will be the collaborative's decision on who we partner with. It won't be my decision, as to who we do that. One of the things in structuring this, we've had everybody put their vote together, but, I think, as far as, one of the aspects is workforce development and partnering with them to be able to look at, some of the, specialties that we may be able to bring into the community. David mentioned earlier the pharmacy, residency program, that can be tied into the rural transformation grant program. So looking at those aspects that, our mission is going to be what is going to be the biggest benefit. And if that, if FSU can fill some of that needs for us, I think we all would be welcome if they are able to bring medical students or residents into our communities to be able to help, because we all know, and in the number of years I've been doing this, anytime you can get a medical student or resident coming through your facility to be able to see what we do, your recruitment efforts for those future physicians increases tremendously. So, being able to identify some people that may be interested in coming to Apalachicola when they graduate to open a practice, giving them the ability to work in the community, to see the community, or be involved with the hospital is a tremendous advantage down the road. So, to answer your question, John, I think it may be all of the above there. So,
Don't most of those resident programs too, they require them to have a rural hospital rotation in some of those programs?
yeah, and I know two of the hospitals in there in the collaborative right now have rural tracks for medical students. I know Jackson Hospital has that, and actually one of the physicians on staff at Northwest serves as one of the, I don't know if you call them professors or what his actual title is, but he mentors and teaches those students in medical school, which gives them exposure to those facilities that help do that. So if we can expand that to all 7 of the hospitals
That'd be phenomenal.
that are in this collaborative, I think would be a tremendous benefit.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think also with the collaborative, it'll be more powerful. I know Dr. Lotus and I had a conversation years ago, and I was telling him that Franklin County is the best place for your residency, these physicians to come learn, because we're like a not guinea pig, but just a model, because we isolated community and we very rural. And at that time, we couldn't get anything off the ground, but with this collaborative now, since this is some incentive, maybe we'll be able to take advantage of this.
Anybody have anything else for Mr. Kozar? Michael, thank you very much. We always appreciate your insights, and especially on a broader global basis amongst the different hospitals you manage, and certainly your benchmarking and other things. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kozar.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, do we have any new business that anybody wants to bring up that we haven't discussed already?
Yeah, lunch.
Lunch?
Lunch.
All right, well, you buying?
I'm actually
Is that your contribution?
I'm actually meeting my son for lunch. My son said,
Damn.
"Mama, meet me for lunch." I go.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned.